December 9th, 2021, and January 13th, 2022. Are there any corrections, additions?
I didn't see anything.
Okay. Can I have a motion to approve these minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second it.
Okay. Motion by Mr. Kapora, seconded by Mr. Wilkening. Roll call.
Mr. Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Wilkening?
Yes.
Mr. Kapora?
Yes.
Mr. Bungie?
Yes.
Mr. Cupido?
Yes. Minutes passed 5-0. First order of old business will be Bowman, 13505 Dewey Street, developmental variance. Darren Bowman of 10001 West 113th Avenue in Cedar Lake, Indiana. The property being in the vicinity of 13505 Dewey Street. This developmental variance is to allow the petitioner to replace a previously removed chain link fence and install a 6-foot chain link fence in the front yards of a through lot. Setbacks of 1 foot to 3 1/2 feet along Dewey Street and Lee Street. This item was deferred from December 9th, 2021. Mr. Austin, are you okay?
Yes, your public hearing has been properly noticed. It was deferred, I believe, from my review of the record.
Yeah, from December? Okay.
Yes.
All right, thank you, sir. Petitioner, could you please come up and state your name and address for the record?
My name is Darren Bowman, 10,001 West 113th Avenue, Cedar Lake, Indiana.
All right, and the reason for your request?
I'm still trying to get my fence reinstalled.
Okay.
If I can give you guys some pictures of what's been going on since the last meeting?
Yeah, sure, absolutely.
Here's a color copy, just in case you guys can't see any of the black and whites. Thank you. Do you need? Yeah, I'll take it.
All right, so where are we at from December? What kind of headway have you made then?
Well, I'd still like to keep the setback. I talked to Jill the other day. I looked for a 4-foot chain link fence. I'm still looking for the same setback, so toward the rear of the package, you'll see I'm still looking for chain link fence. You'll see an aluminum fence that was installed in December, and it has a 3-foot setback from the road. Right around the corner, there's a couple maps toward the back, there's a couple maps with red highlighter in there to show the locations of the two properties being in the same neighborhood. And the last page is actually, I want to address the fire department. There was a house fire there. I'm not going to say exactly where, but it was in that subdivision, and where the red X is, the fire engine couldn't even pass that corner. So as far as the 3-foot setback being an issue for the fire engine, they didn't even clear that corner when the house was on fire.
Jill, do you have anything good for us, or any updates?
No, one of the things to consider is he is on a through lot, allowing the right to protect his property with some of the pictures that have been shown, possibly allowing a 6-foot setback off of Lee Street, Dewey Street, the front yard perhaps matching up with the house. One of the things in the ordinance is obviously what he's asking for is not allowing chain link fence where chain link is visible through, but aluminum and wrought iron type fencing
That would be allowed,
would be allowed.
but up to the face of the house on Dewey Street, not beyond it?
It's a tight area.
per our
Well,
ordinance?
in front of the house, there's already utility poles. So, I mean, the old fence was actually attached to the utility pole. And the 3 foot would be behind that.
Board, any input, any questions for the petitioner?
And the pictures you're looking at was,
Mr. Bowman?
That's exactly what I was going to ask. My immediate assumption is this is trespassing and samples of other distances.
right,
Is that what
so
we're
right,
seeing here?
there's some trespassing going on. They left divots in the yard, basically 3 foot by 2 foot by 6 inches deep. I was allowed by the town to put up a temporary fence, which I did on the property line. And the next picture after that shows what happened to that fence.
For the record, who was trespassing?
The tree service,
Tree service?
without my knowledge.
Working on your neighbor's property?
Right.
Okay.
They dropped it into the yard. By the time I got there, I have other pictures too, but I can only print so many, but by the time I got there, they had most of it pushed back, but it was in the yard all the way.
I can have to share. So you don't have to go back and, this is the front of the home that we're talking about. This was back in December 19th, we had about 29 photos on the iPad.
What's that?
That's due.
That's Dewey?
Mhm.
That's where it's at.
So, go ahead, Mr.
I was just looking to, the fence was already there, and I just wanted to, I tore it down because of the weeds and overgrowth, and it was just so nasty, and I didn't realize it was gonna turn into this. But I wanna do things the right way, so that's why I'm here. But I would like to put it back if I can.
How many feet would you lose if you were required to put this to the front of your house as opposed to where you're...
13 feet.
13 feet.
And according to Ray, he told the one lady last time he would fight over 5 feet. With the lady with the fence around the porch or whatever, I don't know the whole story there, but I'm just trying to keep what I have. It's such a small lot. It's only 60 by 70. If I lose 13 feet in the front, and that's 20 feet roughly, let's just call it that, that's a third of the lot. I'm losing to setbacks.
Well, did you ever, I know at the last meeting that you were here in December, we had talked about getting you in touch with the fire chief.
I never contacted him, no.
Okay. All right. That's probably a big hang-up for
Or,
us.
like I said, the last map here, the last page,
Yeah.
there was a house that was on fire, let's just say on Bryan Street. The fire engine never cleared Night and 135th Place. They never made that turn.
They had to get in from the north then, I assume, huh?
I don't know how they got in.
It's not...
All I know is that they closed down Ninth Street, they had everything, they never made it around that corner.
Okay. All right. Mr. Austin, being that this is continued from December, can I open up public comment?
I'd encourage you to.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Advise.
Okay, Mr. Bowman, can you have a quick seat, please? Do we have any remonstrators here for or against this variance? Anyone here? Please step on up, sir. State your name and address for the record.
My name's Mark McGurk. I live at 13501 Lee Street, right across the street. I've been out there for about 24 years now, and there's always been a fence there, and I've never had a problem with it. Driving or going down the road, there's always plenty of room. So, he's fixing up the house, it looks good. As long as you're doing that, it's not eyesore, I'm good with it.
Okay. All right, thank you, sir. Anyone else here for or against the variance? Step on up. And name and address for the record.
Hi, my name is Donald Coskella. I live at 13502 Dewey Street, right in front of Bowman's house. And just like Mark said, it's an improvement. There's chain link fence on one side of his house, the house that has the neighbor has chain link fence around it. there's a lot of chain link fence in the neighborhood. I mean, there's a bunch, this would be the best in the neighborhood to kind of put it honestly. So I would have no objection at all to improving the fence.
Okay, all right, thank you, appreciate it, Tom. Do we have any other remonstrators for or against the variance? Jill, do you have anything online?
Just a reminder, there was a email that was submitted at your last meeting,
Okay, all right, we'll,
and that was in the minutes of that meeting.
okay, we'll make sure that's put into the record as well, that was read in December.
I have no, yes, no.
Okay, all right, thank you. The public portion is now closed. Mr. Bowman, can you please step back? I don't want to speak for the entire board, but I'll just speak for history. Going against the, public safety, police and fire is going to be something very difficult for us to do. They're an expert in what they do, and if they have an opinion on something that's based on some kind of fact, I could understand that, so. You haven't really drastically changed your plans with this, other than the height of the fence you said? You go for it.
Yeah, not really.
Okay.
I mean, like I said, I'm just looking to try to preserve what lot I can.
All right.
The chain link was there for 50 years before I came. The only reason I got taken down was because of the weeds. The garbage truck goes through every week. Again, the fire engine never cleared the corner down on 135th.
Right.
So, I mean, I know I have a lot of respect for those fellows too. I mean, I know they do their job, and they, but if they can't get there, they can't get there, so it wouldn't affect them.
Well, I hope they can get up there.
They didn't. That house was burning, and they didn't.
Board members, opinions?
Is Lee Street the same width as Dewey?
It is.
They're both the same width?
Yeah, that's done that you put up the temporary fence.
Well, I don't want to say their names, but,
Okay, that's all right, I get it.
I don't want to.
Somebody purposely tore it down after you put it up.
Yeah.
The fence on the side lots is no problem. I'm inclined to say we have to stick to a setback somewhat on both sides, on the Dewey Street side and the Lee Street side, due to the fact of first responders.
Okay.
Now granted, you said the fire truck couldn't make it around the corner or wherever it was, but that doesn't mean we should make it impossible for a fire truck elsewhere. That's something.
I mean, I see what you're saying, but there's only one street in and out of that neighborhood, and they couldn't make it. And I'm willing to set back.
Yeah, but that has no bearing on this right now. What we're talking about, I'm talking about safety for first responders and the residents in that community, having enough room for either an ambulance, a fire truck, squad cars, whatever, it needs to get back there.
Okay.
So I think that we need to have the setbacks. Now, I feel for you losing yardage, but you're only losing yardage inside the fence. You still have the yardage on the outside. I know, that's... but
and it becomes unusable when it's outside.
Yeah, and as far as chain link fence, I see no problem with it as long as it's like the coated kind that's around the subdivision waterfront park.
Right. Where they, you talking about on the South Shore?
Yes.
The black,
Yes.
PVC coated or whatever.
Now, our ordinance does say that you no chain link fences in the front yard.
But I can go to the front of the house?
No, you wouldn't.
No, you can't see it from the front of the street. So no part should be seen from the front of the street. You follow me? In other words, the whole front side of that house, that whole property line cannot, according to our ordinance, cannot have a chain link fence. I'm willing to overlook that if you put it all up and coated, because there is chain link fence all over that neighborhood. There's chain link over by the South Shore Park, it's right on on the roadway there. So, me, I'm willing to overlook that part if you go to code it. But I am gonna insist on setbacks.
Okay, I can work with that.
My thoughts.
Right.
Yeah. Jeff, you there? You have, anything for the petitioner or the board here?
Yeah, I'm here, Jeremy. I'm kind of torn between Mr. Bowman's request, because I can see that, I think for the size lot that he has, and for, the altercation he talked about earlier, that, safety could be an issue, but, I kind of agree with John. I'd like to see some kind of setback of some sort. But then again, he's surrounded by lots on both sides of him, both, I guess, east and west. Or I guess it'd be north and south, because 135th is gonna run. And they have gnarled up chain link fence. So, I don't know where you start policing new fencing without doing something about the old existing problem. So that's I guess that's what I'm torn over.
Okay. All right, thank you, Jeff. Yeah, I know our ordinance says, no chain link fence. This is a unique area. I think, I agree with John. It's consistent with the area. I know we have to deal with it here and now, what our ordinance says, but going forward, it'd be nice if we can have some kind of discussion, ordinance discussion with some kind of exceptions for some of these lakeside areas to keep views open and stuff like that. But, me personally, the biggest hurdle that I have to overcome is definitely that setback. That's my big deal. And I understand you need the yard fenced in, so. Ray, Terry?
I was, just to be clear, when we left here the last meeting, Mr. Bowman was given some option or instruction to consult with the fire chief, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So all we have from public safety standpoint is the email from December 9th to go on. And making decisions about fencing material based on finances is at best poor judgment, if not illegal, so.
Right. Well, I guess,
I never said it was because of finances. I just said it was more aesthetically pleasing because it's conducive with the neighborhood. When you go PVC, that's higher price than chain link.
where would you think the setback ought to go, John? I'm just curious, because
Well, that's a question I would think that the fire department, who has the bigger of the trucks, would have to say how much width or space they need on the street, which they didn't say in that letter. He just said that, he thought it was a safety concern. So I don't know, what the setback should be without knowing how much footage should be left for the truck to get through.
right, yeah, I agree.
So,
That's
we're
why we really needed you to talk with fire.
Right, well, Mr. President,
Yeah.
we're getting into the design phase again
Yeah.
of things, and I
This is
understand.
why I brought these
Yeah,
pictures.
Mr. Bowman, please, 1 second, we'll give you a second.
Go ahead.
All right, go ahead, Mr.
Well, that's why I brought these pictures. This fence was installed, in December with a 3-foot setback on a dead-end road in the same neighborhood.
Yes, and I believe we gave a variance for that one too, on Cedar Street. Jill, did you have something?
What I was going to say is this is a residential through lot. A zoning administrator, us not having a designated zoning administrator brings this to you, has the authority to designate one of the front yards as a rear yard, but a fence located on a through lot not served by sidewalk that has been designated as a rear yard shall be set back a minimum of 6 feet from the right-of-way. So that would put, by our rules, Lee Street 6 feet.
Okay.
Also stating that the height, and shall not exceed a height of 4 feet, subject to the following additional provisions in this section. If the fence is constructed with a material such as wrought iron or wood piers, a 6-foot high fence is allowed. If the fence design is 50% open to allow increased visibility. However, fences constructed of chain link, wire, or equivalent type of material adjacent to any street is still not allowed.
Okay.
So I just wanted to remind you on 3 lots,
Okay.
that's how our zoning ordinance is written.
So a chain link fence would not be allowed along Lee Street
Along Lee Street or Dewey
or
Street.
Dewey? Okay,
It would be allowed in the side yard,
okay,
but not along those 2. So
All
I
right.
just wanted to remind you on the 3 lots,
all right, thank you.
just because we've been going through the zoning ordinance, those things.
Yeah. Got a couple of different things going on.
Yeah.
All right. Well, gentlemen, I'm not sure we've got all the information that we wanted.
Certainly, Mr. Bowman, not living there 24/7, has invited these pictures.
What type of fence would you put up on Lee Street and Dewey Street if we don't allow chain link?
I probably won't put anything. I'll just kind of abandon the project, really. I think that I have a book of aluminum picket fencing, and to me, those remind me of cemeteries and stuff like that. You know, jailhouses and libraries, and they use that kind of stuff.
Well, would that defeat your purpose then of keeping vandals up?
Yes, it would. Right, I guess I mean, I had a chain link fence. I didn't think that this was gonna be, I'm just trying to clean the place up, and it turned into all this.
Ray, down there, you got, what's your biggest hang up here?
I guess we're kind of stuck now because you're not willing to put a chain link, well, we can't, right, on the fences anyhow, it's gotta be,
Well, that's why he's here for the variance.
Yeah.
so, and you're not willing to go with another fence design then, right?
It's not appealing to me,
Yeah.
and I mean, not to be ignorant, but I work for my money, and I just wanna spend it the way I wanna spend it. And it's not, you know, not to put this neighborhood down, but this neighborhood is not the new $700,000 mansions that are going up everywhere, you know what I mean?
Well, I guess we're here to act on what is proposed to us here.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah,
Mr. Bowman, you did offer to reduce the height to 4 feet, though, correct?
That's right.
Okay. I just wanted to
okay.
clarify.
So same proposal, just 4 foot instead of 6 feet.
I would like to, I'm sorry,
Yeah, go
on
ahead.
the side yard, I would like to keep it 5 though. So like, just on the north property line, I would like to keep it 5.
Well, unless you gentlemen have any other discussion points, does anybody have a motion to approve or deny this variance request?
And Jeremy, just to be clear on my side, we're considering this as proposed, correct?
Yes, but
Other than the 4-foot reduction on the 2 fences that will run along the front yards and backyard?
yes.
Okay.
Would anybody like to make a motion? Either make a motion or we keep hashing this out. I don't know where we're getting with it.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion based on the submittal and what's in front of us, that we deny the request for the fencing project Mr. Bowman would like to do with the findings of fact.
Okay. We have a motion to deny. Is there a second? Is there a second for the motion?
Mr. Chairman, I'll second that motion, including, in my eye, the clear, objection to our findings of fact of, public safety.
Okay, would you like to amend that motion, Barry, to include that?
To include all correspondence
Okay,
and findings of fact.
okay. Any discussion on the motion?
Can I say something before you vote?
Go ahead.
I already agreed with John to do the setbacks, so really now, all I'm really asking for is chain link fence.
Well, I understand that the motion was made based off that discussion and request. Mr. Austin, any,
You have a good motion based upon the application that's on file and prosecuted before you. I would encourage, in addition to the findings, to include, based upon what I've heard here tonight, that the strict application of the terms of the zoning ordinance will result in practical difficulties in the use of the property. Are there practical difficulties in the use of the property if this variance is not granted? There are not.
okay,
House is still there, the property is still usable, it's still within the zoning district classification to be used, et cetera.
okay,
That's what that section of the code means,
okay,
and it's verbatim from the statute.
okay. All right, thank you, sir. Well, we have a motion and a second by, we have a motion by Mr. Wilkening, seconded by Mr. Bungie to deny this developmental variance. Roll call, please.
Mr. Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Wilkening?
Yes.
Mr. Kapora?
No.
Mr. Bungie?
Yes.
Mr. Cupido?
Present. Motion carries 3-1.
So basically, he needs to come up with a different material.
Well,
Thank you. You voted present.
well, I'm sorry, I'm abstaining from it.
Thank you, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
I'm sorry.
Well, you can vote present,
Yeah,
it's in Robert's rules.
okay. Well, we'll keep it present. Thank you, Dave. There would have to be a sizable change to the request, Mr. Bowman, or you'd have to follow the zoning ordinance. Or else you wouldn't, or else you couldn't come back for another year, right?
Correct.
Okay.
But if you change the material, that would be,
I'm not sure who decides that. Dave, who's gonna decide whether it's a sizable change to warrant coming back for a year?
It'll be determined administratively in the planning and building department. And if there's a problem there in terms of interpretation or quantification, they'll come to you.
Okay. So, Mr. Bowman, if you wanna take another shot at it, get with building department, and see what you guys can do.
all right,
All right? Yep. All right. Thanks for coming. Item number 2 of old business is Weir's Electric Power Solutions LLC, variance of use on developmental variance. Jill, you had a request for deferral on this
We
one?
did have a request for a deferral, and a reminder from your January meeting. They are working on some storm drainage items that were requested by the town engineer. So this item is still continued until that is determined. This item can't be completely determined. It's requested by the petitioner to defer this, and
so
I
next
would
month.
agree with that as far as the building department goes.
Okay. Till next month then?
Till next
Yeah.
month.
Okay.
Well, that begs the question, doesn't it? There was an application made and it was started, and consequence of the public hearing that was commenced was a deferral because of reanalysis of the project parcel and project by the petitioner, right? And you know they're making changes. Jack Holtz was here and as much as told you so. So is it the same application that is being prosecuted, or is there a new petition or a new project, which would really beg then the necessity of new public hearing, new application, or amended application, however it would work out, and the project starting with a new foundation, a new basis? I'm asking because
It was requested from, oh, I'm sorry.
Mr. Rush, no, go ahead.
yeah, I mean, when the engineer tells you, the project consultant tells you there's a project change coming, and it must be substantive. It'll be 3 months of deferral or 2 months, whatever it is.
Okay. Jill, can you?
The variance that he has requested was to have multiple tenants in each building, as brought forward in front of your plan commission and in front of you by the petitioner, was the fact that they were determining how many units, and if that building needed to be smaller, they wouldn't be able to fit the same amount of units in it, and you guys were asking for a specific number. So in order to determine how many tenants they can fit in each building, they need to determine the size of those buildings. And one of the things our town engineer asked for was an extensive drainage study due to the impact over many years of that area near Wicker Meadows. So that extensive study has led to some delays, but they were still asking for multiple tenants. You had asked them to refine that, but until they can refine it based on the drainage study requested by our town engineer, that is where this one is standing.
Okay, so the request hasn't changed?
No.
Okay.
If the request changes substantially, I would have them re-advertise.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Welkening?
I disagree. The original request had a tenant square footage ratio. This is open-ended.
It did not.
There were gonna be 10, you
It
sure?
did not.
There were gonna be 10 businesses, there were gonna be 10 businesses, and, or whatever it was gonna be, they gave a number. And now it's multiple tenants with no ratio of tenants per space.
They had started with a number with the plan commission.
Yeah.
Then that number had changed based on some discussions they had for the next BZA meeting. You had asked at the BZA meeting to have them refine that number and bring it back. But until they do the drainage study and determine the size of the building, if they can even fit the second building at this point,
Okay.
and bring that back to you, but since they can't refine that at this point,
Okay. Do they plan to be here next month?
I will request that they be here next month if the drainage, regardless.
Okay, yeah, regardless.
But in print, it says multiple tenants.
That's how I
Which
had
is-
advertised it.
Okay.
I talked to Mr. Everly about this, and he did have some concerns about the seriously gray area here. So I guess I'd like to ask Mr. Option, since you brought this up, where are we with starting
Well,
over?
From where I sit, this project's backwards. The work that's being done now is well known to Cedar Lake town officials over the years of storm drainage problems, concerns, and issues we faced in the general area. So it's no surprise to anybody here who knows about all of that, in Wicker Meadows and all of those storm drainage concerns that this town and our taxpayers spent 6 figures of money fixing over a decade of time. So you're asking me that question when I know the totality of circumstances, and the totality tells me that should have been the first thing that was done, not the after the fact, what are we doing, and not knowing that key, incredible issue has to be addressed.
I guess I feel better about this language if it said undetermined tenants as to multiple, because multiple gives it some infiniteness. That's just my thought.
Right, no, absolutely. This is gonna have to have a number attached to it when they eventually do make it to us to,
And if everybody's good with, and if everybody's good with that, then I'm,
That was my understanding, that number needed to be refined for you. The multiple needed to be defined.
okay.
okay.
When he came in originally, he was talking like 5,000 square foot units. And then somebody, one of his business associates told him it'd be difficult to rent a building that size or a unit that size, that they suggested they decrease the size. So then he was going down to like 2,000. So based on size of the building he came in with originally, it told us the number, if he was gonna do 5,000 square foot units or 2,000 or what have you. But then this issue came up with, drainage on the west side of that property. And that's where it's been hung up all along, because he doesn't know how big of a building he can put up till he finds out what he has to do for the drainage in the back there. So it's kind of a catch-22 right now. I agree with Jerry, we just can't say you can have multiple tenants. I wanna know, are you gonna have 4 tenants, 10 tenants, 1 tenant? You know, or up to 2 tenants, or something of that nature, not multiple.
I think undetermined multiple tenants may be better.
I don't like that either, it's kind of, to me, ambiguous, to me.
Yeah, I got you.
You know, I would sooner see a number set on it, because if once he finds out where the water's going, he's gonna know how big of the building is. So once he knows the size of the building, he knows how much, and if he's gonna do 2,000 square foot units, if it's 6,000 square feet, there's 3 units.
As long as everybody's good and it's in the minutes, I'm good.
Okay.
But I would really request that he be present next month, and I'd like to know the status of that in-depth research on the drainage, or who's doing that? Who's doing that, Don?
DDG is doing it at the request of Don. DDG or whomever they are working with on the drainage study is doing that. The petitioner is paying for that, we are not. Don would review the work.
Yeah, okay, I just want to know whose cage we should rattle so that we have answers for the next meeting. Since it's been a month now, at least.
Correct.
They've known about this problem for several months. And this in-depth research has been at least a month now. So I need a cage rattled so that we have a report.
If I can make a request that your motion, if you approve the motion to defer, to have the petitioner attend next month, and also part of their multiple tenants to have that number defined. If that would be agreeable to the board.
Sounds good to me, Joe.
If that's okay that I word that way.
Or anybody that they want.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion, we grant the deferral, item 2, Weirs Electric Power Solutions, to include engineer, owner, written report, any and all, be at the next meeting. With all the findings.
Would you like to have him quantify the amount of tenants too?
And, yeah,
Okay.
quantify the tenants.
I'll second that.
Okay. Any questions, discussion on the motion? No.
Nope.
Yes, okay. So we got a motion to defer this item until March 2022 with the request to have the petitioner present and any written reports available to us as well, and also for the petitioner to have a hard number of the amount of tenants they are requesting.
Yes, sir.
All right. Roll call?
Mr. Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Wilkening?
Yes.
Mr. Kapora?
Yes.
Mr. Bungie?
Yes.
Mr. Recupero?
Yes, motion carries 5-0.
Mr. Chairman, for the record, the next meeting is March
All right, thank you, Joe.
10th.
3 of old business is Majeski Developmental Variance. Owner petitioner Michael Majeski, 9827 West 150th Court in Cedar Lake, Indiana. Property being in the vicinity of the same. This developmental variance is to allow the petitioner to have a 10-foot by 16-foot, 160 square foot shed, 5 feet 3 inches from the eastern property line. This item was deferred from January 2022 meeting. Legals are all good, Mr. Ross?
Legals are good.
Okay, thank you. Petitioner, please come on up and state your name and address for the record.
Michael Majeski, 9827 West 150th Court.
Okay, and the reason for your request?
To put up the, need a variance because it calls for a 6-foot variance, and we have 5 foot 3 inches on the east property line.
Okay. Jill, do you have anything for us?
One of the unique things with this triple corner lot, is the setback, and being a corner through lot, and a 35-foot building line in the rear yard setback, my apologies. He would need to ask for a shed pretty much like this anywhere in his yard.
Okay. Mr. Majeski, when we kind of gave you a month to figure out your plan, we had talked, you had talked pools and stuff like that, so.
Yeah, pool last time.
Yeah.
Then we brought up the square footage, the coverage of the lot,
Yep.
which I talked to Jill, and she said that a pool wouldn't have no square footage.
Square footage does not, I apologize, square footage does not, of a pool does not account towards lot coverage.
Okay.
I verified that with Kim and Michelle.
Decking?
Any wooden decking would, but concrete decking would not.
Okay.
So if you had a concrete slab around an in-ground pool, that would not count either.
Okay.
Mr. Majeski's current lot coverage with the requested shed would only put him at a 20.4% lot coverage.
Very good. So you're not looking at putting a deck up there that's gonna cause you to have excessive lot coverage?
No, it'll be in ground with cement pad around it.
All right. Gentlemen?
There was another piece of this puzzle that we discussed. One of them was a pool, anything that had to move. Because if this is granted, anything he asked for after that, he's created his own hardship. And we know how that works.
Right.
That was part of that discussion in the grand plan.
Yes, sir.
So,
And I reviewed that application with him, so nothing would need to be moved. The backyard was defined as by putting the fence in.
once we
Rear yard,
understand.
and we had discussed that.
Okay.
Yes, okay.
I do like that he's meeting the 10 foot of separation between the house and the shed. Another option could be potentially to move it a little bit closer to the house and a little bit further away from the shed. We're talking 9 inches, and he would meet the 6 feet from the fence.
I prefer to have the 10 feet between the shed and the house
And I
as
would
opposed to the 6 feet
I would agree.
between the shed and the fence. And for 9 inches, I think it's a no-brainer.
Okay. Gentlemen, have anything else for the petitioner before we get to remonstrance? Okay. Mr. Majeski, can you have a quick seat, please? Do we have any remonstrators here for or against the variance? Anyone here for or against the variance? Jill, did you have anything online?
No, I do not.
Okay. Public session's closed. Sir, please step back up. All right. Well, I'm glad we gave you some time to make sure that your master plan can go off without a hitch eventually. You guys have anything else for the petitioner? Jeff, do you have anything out there?
No, not particularly.
Okay.
I guess we've never asked the hardship question.
Oh,
Now's the time. So, I guess what Jerry's getting at, if you want me to elaborate, is, there has to be a reason for this request other than I want. So what's the reason why you cannot meet the zoning ordinance, that we have on the books right now?
Well, actually, for a developmental variance, it's practical difficulty standard versus the hardship standard. Hardship isn't a variance of use. So, practical difficulties in the use of this property, at the triple corner lot, it has setbacks, et cetera, that probably constitutes most of Cedar Lake, but
Okay,
that's the criteria that counts for a developmental variance.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Austin. Well, I guess, that's not too much.
Well, I mean, I like the idea, people want to keep their stuff inside.
Yeah.
It's better than outside.
Right. And it's inside the building line? It'll be entirely inside that building line, right?
Yes.
Okay.
No, it would not. The building line on the side for the shed is 8.5 feet. He's asking for 5.3 feet from
Oh.
the property line.
Okay. All right, I
It would
guess
need to
this
be
wasn't the
six-
scale.
He would
Yeah.
need to be 6 feet from the property line to meet our ordinance for an
Okay,
accessory structure.
okay. All right. Well, gentlemen, is there a motion out there?
I'll make a motion, we approve the petitioner's request as stated, per the finding of facts.
Do you have a second?
I'll second it.
Yes, Joe?
For the record, would you mind reading that it would be a 10 by 16, 160 square foot shed, 5 foot 3 inches from the eastern property line?
This motion includes the developmental variances to allow the petitioner to have a 10 by 16, 160 square foot shed, 5 feet, 3 inches from the eastern property line, per finding of facts.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, is that what he applied for?
Yes.
Is that what's on the app?
Yes,
So
sir.
the application's gonna be, copy of the application will be appended to the findings,
Okay,
so.
all right. Thank you.
I'll amend my motion to include the same.
Okay. So we have a motion by Mr. Kapora, seconded by Mr. Wilkening, to approve this developmental variance allowing the petitioner to have a 10-foot by 16-foot, 160 square foot shed, 5 feet, 3 inches from the eastern property line, to include the findings of fact. Roll call, please.
Mr. Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Wilkening?
Yes.
Mr. Kapora?
Yes,
Mr. Bungie?
yes.
Mr. Cupido?
Yes, motion carries 5-0. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Item number 4 of old business is Gachet Developmental Variance, Skip Gachet, 134th and Elm in Cedar Lake. The petitioner being Skip Gachet, 7709 West 134th Place in Cedar Lake. The property being in the vicinity of 134th and Elm. This developmental variance is to allow the petitioner to have front yard setbacks of 25 feet on Elm Street and 134th Place, a rear yard setback of 15 feet, and lot coverage of 2,100 square feet, being 29.2% of lot coverage on a corner lot in a pre-recorded subdivision. This item was also deferred from the January 2022 meeting. Mr. Oshner?
Legals are in order.
All right, thank you, sir. Do we have a petitioner for this item? Please come on up and state your name and address for the record, sir.
Skip Gachet, 7709 West 134th Place, Cedar Lake.
All right, Mr. Gachet, do you, have any new information for us since it's been deferred?
I really had a little bit new information. Took the board's want and needs into consideration. I reduced the square footage and that of the house, looking for one variance, on Elm Street, requesting 24 or 6-foot variance for the 30-foot setback on Elm. What I did was, besides reducing the square footage of the house to 1,795 square feet, I moved it off of 134th to allow for the 30-foot setback, increased the backyard to 19 feet, and the side yard to the south would be 9 foot.
So you're exceeding the minimum on the rear yard and the south side yard?
Correct.
Okay. But you're asking for 24 feet along Elm Street now?
Correct.
Instead of 30?
Well, I had originally for
Oh.
25, yeah,
Right.
20 to 24.
Okay, gotcha,
I mean, I could move the house 6 inches.
gotcha.
We're splitting hairs.
All right,
Um,
all right.
And reduced, like I said, had 4 variances I requested. Reduce it to 1 on Elm. Make a lower impact in the neighborhood. I really don't want to be on 134th. Which that would make my side yard to the east and allow 8 foot. So, direction I turn things.
Okay. Fair
Would-
enough.
Asking the board is take that into consideration so I can finalize the survey and lot plan with the surveyor and drainage. Took everything into consideration, neighbors, fire, safety.
Okay. Well, we appreciate it. Joe, do you have anything for us?
No, as you read, his request into the record before he spoke, it has been reduced to just the 1 variance request for a 24-foot setback from Elm Street.
Okay. Gentlemen?
Do you anticipate any stormwater issues on this property?
Shouldn't I talked to Glenn this morning? They put a drain into the new house that L&M built, culverts and sizing. There's a little discrepancy in that, and I was gonna work with Glenn, get all my preliminary stuff finalized, get it surveyed and stormwater and drainage, and we're actually probably gonna end up setting a structure in, so, but before I go spend,
You're gonna put a structure in, you said?
if I need to, yeah,
Okay.
between that and where L&M put theirs. Got enough coverage for a drive. Glenn took care of all that. But again, before I go have everything done for the final, this is all preliminary based on that setback. And I wouldn't exceed any square footage or any other thing on the property.
So what's the square footage of your home now? You reduced it, right?
Yeah, 1795,
1795?
based on the lot size.
Is that with or without the garage?
That's with the garage, that's coverage.
He'd no longer need a variance for that. He would fall,
Yep.
he would be within his 25%.
Yeah, just curious in size of there. Cool. All right.
And I'm trying to work with everybody involved,
Okay.
keep it within there. I don't think turning it and making the address to 134th, which would work, because that would give me an additional 10 feet, is in anybody's best interest.
Okay.
The final grade is determined by his engineer.
Yes, and being in a pre-platted older subdivision, this would be reviewed by our engineer before any plans would be approved.
For the final grade.
For,
All right.
It would require an as-built. It would be reviewed by Don before it's even allowed to be built.
All right. Mr. Gachet, can you have a quick seat? We're gonna open up the floor to remonstrance. Do we have any remonstrators here for or against this variance? Anyone here for or against? Please come on up, ma'am. State your name and address for the record.
Name's Marjorie Larman. I live at 13412 Hickory Street.
Okay.
It's a house to the east of the property. I was not aware or notified that any of this changed from the last meeting, so that's kind of news to me in the last few minutes. But my main concern here is what is the distance between my property line now and then the back of, or the side of his house?
Okay. I'll let Mr. Gachet answer that. He did elaborate on that earlier, but he'll pinpoint that for you.
From the property line to the back of the house would be 19 feet.
Okay.
Which I believe is in excess of what is required, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Okay.
Could I,
well, do you have anything else, ma'am?
My main other concern was what effect will this have on my property? Is it gonna affect my view or anything like that? And also flooding. We already have issues in that area with flooding. My side yard, what is that, off of 134th Place, that side yard already does flood a little bit. And then as well as the back where my patio is, which would, back up to his property. So I'm just concerned on if he builds up at all, how will that affect my property, and will it flood at all or anything like that?
Okay. We appreciate it. Anything else you need to add? We'll have them address those questions here in a minute.
Yeah, and just one other concern or question, I guess, was when the property first went up for sale, it was 3 solid lots that were being sold, so I was unsure if he bought all 3 lots. If he did, then no variances need to be broken at all because he would have enough room to do everything.
Okay.
I just didn't know if you had all 3 of them and you were just trying to keep a bigger yard or what, because I tried to purchase it as well and it was selling all 3 of them or none of them.
Okay. All right. All right, thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Do we have anyone else here for or against this variance? Jill, do you have anything online?
Do not.
Okay. The public portion is now closed. Mr. Gachet, please step back up. And, hopefully you can shed some light for the, woman that remonstrated.
as far as drainage issues, I don't know of any drainage issues back on there, and that's up to Glenn and the town on the drainage. I know they put the storm water in there for L&M's property, and it would have to be, to the town's plans.
Because Don's got to look at this and check off on this, right? Engineering?
Yes, anything in a pre-planning subdivision, we have him look at.
Okay. And as far as, I think she was asking about sight lines.
We're keeping the 30-foot setback off the road, and sight lines are there.
Chris has shown this picture in dark to the, asking the question.
Okay.
I think the front of his house is the same plane as her house.
Correct.
Okay. All right. Well, you did a good job in sharpening your pencil, Skip.
Well, there's a difference between a need and a want.
Yeah.
You might as well go, try.
Yeah.
I think Mr. Mr. Wilken said that.
Yeah.
There. So,
Okay.
I'm just trying to make it fit in and be within the community and try to keep that. If I turn the house the other way, which would fit, I would be 8 foot off the property line.
Yeah, I know, I appreciate it.
So I'm just trying to work in that and be safe in the community.
I do appreciate it, thank you.
All right. Anything else from the building department, Jill?
No.
Okay. So obviously you've got probably a little bit of practical difficulties with this being a corner lot. It eats up a lot of space for him. He has definitely improved this plan a lot, and neighbors seem to be happy. Do you guys have anything else for the petitioner? Any other questions, concerns?
No, I appreciate the effort he put into that.
Yeah.
And, it's a, first-class presentation and drawings here.
Yeah. Jeff, this is Nick. Do you have anything, anything for us?
Well, the only other thing that I thought that we discussed last meeting was if there ever was gonna be a deck or a patio added, that, Skip be aware that, he probably will not be able to show much in the way of hardship if there's any other further improvements being done on this lot.
Okay. We'll let the record show that the petitioner is aware of that, Jeff.
Okay?
Thank you. All right, do we have a motion to approve or deny this developmental variance? This will be a board decision. We have a motion to approve or deny.
I'll make a motion that we approve, the petitioner's request, to allow a 24-foot setback in the front yard instead of a 30-foot setback, per finding of fact.
Okay.
That's all that we had to do, right?
Yeah, on Elm Street, yes, sir.
Off of Elm, okay.
Yep. Do we have a second?
Do you have to mention the square footage change of the home too?
No, he's
No?
gonna, he's
Okay.
gonna stay under the,
Okay.
25%, or he's not gonna exceed the 25%.
I'll second John's motion with findings of fact, Mr. President.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion by Mr. Caporo, seconded by Mr. Wilkening, to allow this developmental variance, to have a 24-foot setback on Elm Street only, and to include the findings of fact. You understand the motion, Mr. Boucher? Okay. Roll call, please.
Mr. Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Wilkening?
Yes.
Mr. Capora?
Yes.
Mr. Bungie?
Yes.
Mr. Cupido?
Present. Motion carries 4-1. You can get your building permit now.
Thanks.
Yep, thank you. Last item of old business, is Grand Prize Cars / Majeski Developmental Variance. The owner being Richard Henn of Henn & Sons Construction Services Incorporated, 13733 Wicker Avenue, Cedar Lake. The petitioner is Norma Majeski, 13318 Wicker Avenue, in Cedar Lake. The property being in the vicinity of 13324 Wicker Avenue. This developmental variance is to allow the petitioner, Grand Prize Auto, to park 6 cars on 13324 Wicker Avenue in the front yard and allowing 2 uses on a lot. This also was deferred from January 2022 meeting. Mr. Austin?
Legal's in order.
Okay, thank you, sir. We have a petitioner here. Can you please state your name and address for the record?
Yes, hi, Robert Henn, 1373 Wicker Avenue, Cedar Lake, Indiana. I am the property owner of both parcels affected, Grand Prize Cars and the Altar next door. If it pleases the board, since I'm a little more familiar with both of these pieces of property, I'd like to present the petition for Mr. Majeski, if that's all right.
Mr. Austin, is that okay?
He's here, he can confirm it.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, yes, sir, Mr. Henn.
All right, great, thank you. I've got a few pictures here I'd like to email them over, but I'm going to give you a couple colored ones so you can kind of define the area we're talking about.
We have those.
You have those?
Yeah, in the iPad, yep.
Fantastic.
All right, thanks.
Okay, so you've got it too? All right.
They did appear in the packet.
Okay, great.
All right. And the reason for your request?
The reason for our request is, a lot of you are familiar, last year we put the addition on for All Tire next door. These 2 parcels used to be 3 parcels, and Mr. Majeski was able to park his cars on the first 2 north parcels with no issues. After we came in and presented a petition to build the addition for All Tire, the request was made to combine those 3 lots into 2 to try to meet the lot size ordinance for All Tire. In doing so, we ended up taking away some of this area that Mr. Majeski used for Grand Prize Cars. We're only really talking about that small little angled sliver there on the, it's 41 in the front of the property. I think I showed that in the 3rd photo. And then I think you should be in possession of a letter from All Tire, from Jeff Fraze, that he has no objection to this as well.
That letter's on page 29 of your
Okay.
iPad.
All right. The way this is advertised, I'm a little confused. We have the developmental variance, and then we also have dimensioning of uses on the lot. So how exactly is this, how is this gonna go?
It's a great question. Looks like it's parking variance or storage variance of some sort. Usually we have developmental variances that are area oriented, height, width, size, setbacks, and the like. So I didn't have any issues until I hear the petitioner tell us what he's doing here for a developmental variance. I'm not certain I've heard Rob say that yet.
If Mr. Majeski owned all of that piece of property there, including that triangle, he could park the cars on there without any variances, right?
I don't know about that. I mean, this is a unique parcel, and what started out as a simple subdivision plat for accommodation of a business has turned into a misunderstanding or a lack of understanding of how the parcel will be used, or the adjacent parcel will be used, newly subdivided or not, under our codes. So I can't answer that question, John, yet.
When we left last month, I was under the impression that, he needed to get approval from the property owner and/or All Tire to use that strip of land, and that was what the problem was.
Well, it's a little more basic than that. Mr. Majeski is not the owner of the land, and the application was made for this variance by him, not the owner. So, at least as I understood it, as, well, I'm just saying what I heard and what I saw.
The file you have has the application in it, which was signed by one of the...
Yeah. I think there was also, in addition to that, see this, you just start putting your chips together and start piling them up, you'll see all the confusion. The small parcel, and there's a lot going on. The property has number of use issues. That is a developmental variance. So, kind of the clarity of what they're here for, what Rob's here for, what Mr. Majeski's here for, belongs to them, not to us. What we have noticed is in the town's files, that is, there's parking improperly in violation of our zoning ordinance. And in fact, Mr. Majeski paid a fine, a citation fine for violation that was issued by the town manager and that we discussed here last month. It was a discussion piece. So, just add all the confusion together and you've got, so that's why I can't answer your question directly, John.
So I've been, Mr. President, I've been confused about this since day one.
I understand.
Because things don't add up.
Well, this petition is in Richard Hinn's name.
Well, is it?
Not this piece of paper I'm looking at.
Well, he's the owner, but the
Well, if the owner would be the one who has to make the petition.
well, the petitioner is listed as Norman Majeski.
If I may.
And that's why we allowed him to have Mr. Hinn come in.
Okay.
Yeah, we wanted to make sure that all parties that could be affected were here, and there was full
That's
transparency.
why, yeah, petitioner is Majeski, okay.
So Dave, can you answer whether this is a use variance or developmental? I want to know, especially when we get to that point of the motion, so maybe this is going to be a recommendation. This should be a recommendation, or this will continue to be developmental. To me, it seems like a use.
It is a use, and the question of how the property is being used versus the town zoning ordinance, or against the town zoning ordinance codes and conditions. Add another piece of confusion for you. The town manager in October reached an understanding with this Mr. Hen and Mr. Altier?
Oh, Jeff, yes.
Yeah, Jeff.
Jeff.
That the issue we're here talking about would be resolved in a month. I have that communication, I have that memo of understanding by the town manager. So it occurs to me that as a consequence of that communication, there is an admission or acknowledgement of non-compliance with the code. I could be wrong, I wasn't there, I didn't have the dialogue with the town manager and Rob and whomever else was there. But when you follow that up with payment of a fine for citation, we lawyers call that prima facie.
What do us lay people call it?
He's guilty.
Nick, if I may, I might be able to shed some
All
light
right.
on quite a bit of this
Yes, sir.
so-called confusion. Yes, Mr. Rick Eberly, previous town manager, and I had multiple conversations about this. Everybody's pretty much aware that, we put the addition on the front of Altier for Mr. Frey's next door. His parking lot, that all went through the plan commission, received some waivers, and for some of the developmental issues there, because a lot doesn't, meet, it's an older lot, older business, older building's been there forever, been the same thing pretty much forever. But the discussions with Rick Eberly and myself were mainly about all the parking issues, all through the summer and all through the fall. And a lot of those were due to the fact that we were working on the addition of Altier services. So we had to displace all of Altier's, customers, cars. We had to put them somewhere while we're working on the addition. So where do we put them? We put them in the front yard temporarily while we're working on the addition. We had to get cranes in there, excavators, all sorts of things. So we need to move these cars out of that area. In addition to that, where Altier's new parking lot is, NIPSCO had the distribution for all buildings on this property were in that front yard. And that without that being moved, would not allow us to put the parking lot in the approved location. I had to reach out to Jill to get help with NIPSCO to get those moved. It took them almost 5 months to get those moved. And we could not put the parking lot in and move Altier's cars to the proper location until that gas distribution was moved. And it finally got removed and relocated out of his parking lot in November of 2021. So we missed the season to pave, so we were unable to pave the lot. So those conversations that Mr. Rush is talking about that I had with Mr. Eberly were concerning the cars that we were moving around during the construction phase. This request we're here today for is just for that little triangle area up to the south entry that Mr. Majeski would like to continue to use for his car lot. That has no bearing on Altier's business, and as per that letter, Jeff Fraser of Altier has no need for it and has no problem with Mr. Majeski continuing to use those.
Okay. All right, thank you, sir. All right. Any board discussion on this item right now?
Yes, I don't know how many, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
No, it's gonna take me a while, go ahead, John.
Well, I'm confused, where is the violation? You said there's a violation of code with using that triangle space?
Exceeds the number of uses for zoning lots.
The number of uses,
Right.
but it's being used by the car dealership.
Well, part of it is. Part of it's being used by the Altier guy.
So it only has approval to be used by Altier, and then we're here for a second use.
I think.
Correct.
That's what you're requesting, Mr. Hen.
You're here for, Mr. Eberly took the application from Mr. Majeski. The variance from zoning ordinance Title 20, Section 9, which is how it was advertised, for the 2 uses on 1 lot, which also includes parking in the front yard. That was how I advertised it. I double checked that with Rick before he had left when this was advertised. It was applied for in November, however, they missed the December cutoff, so that's why it didn't come to you until January. So, while there seems to be the lapse that was applied for in November.
Okay. So there's 2 uses along with parking in the front yard. These are 2 different variance requests. Is that how I'm supposed to construe this? I don't know, I'm not, I'm confused myself.
I advertised it as I discussed it with the previous manager. I had put together a PDF, which is on page 27 of your iPad, which defines Grand Prize Auto's existing property, which is not the property that's asking for the variance, because it's the property to the south of it, where the proposed parking area for the 6 parking spaces is. I put arrows there to define that for you. Well, the overlay here doesn't show the new addition on Mr. Braze's all-tire building or their parking lot because it's not complete yet, but that would include the parking in the front yard.
Okay, so that was worked on with the previous town manager?
I put this together for you to help define the 2 lots.
Okay, but the request itself?
The request itself, Rick had worked with Mr. Majeski on.
Okay. Trying to get through that muddy water here.
Yeah, it's pretty muddy.
Okay.
All right, the picture in blue, Jill, that's its own lot now.
That is the existing Grand Prize Auto lot.
Legal, what is its legal definition? It's a new lot, correct?
No,
But it's
the new lot is the lot to the south.
Okay, what is this in blue now?
And blue is just showing you where Grand Prize Auto exists right now.
Is it a lot of record?
It is
meets
not
and
a
bounds?
lot of record.
It's what?
It is not a lot of record.
But it's part of the 2-lot subdivision.
No, they only did a 1-lot subdivision for 13324. The lot to the south of the blue.
So what do we categorize these 2 buildings in blue? They're not a 1-lot, they're not a one.
Legal non-conforming.
They're legal non-conforming.
Correct.
Okay. And 2 businesses on that property were approved when?
I've been here. I can't answer that question for you.
Because I asked that question a month ago. And I'm really confused. Once the southern property, once this was set in motion, it changed the dynamic of all of this. These are three great businesses, there's no doubt about it. But Mr. Majeski wants to park cars back where he parked them before, along a drive that is being used by another business, the body shop in the back. There's all kinds of things going on here that I'm confused about the approval of. Mr. Hen mentioned blacktopping the parking lot. Well, there was a waiver for stormwater because it was considered impervious. So, I don't know what that's about. At 338 today, there's a car parked next to the car hauler where it's not supposed to be today. So I'm lost about all this. I really am. If the body shop's sharing that entrance with All Tire, the request should be 3 businesses on one piece of property, not 2. Because you're sharing an access is being shared with the body shop in the back. I really, really had wished that this had all been done, at once, but it wasn't. It was done at the minimum, and now these are some of the boomerangs we're facing.
If I may.
Yes, please.
Sherry,
Please do.
Yeah, I understand what you're talking about with some, difficulty, but the difficulties are only on your part. I mean, all the three businesses there have no issues with each other. This has been this way, as long as you and I have been alive, this has been this way. I don't know what we can do about now.
But now we have different rules we have to follow, and now we're deviating from this again. Now the building's up, the addition's done, and that's what the wish was. Now we want to put it back the old way, and I just, there's...
No, I think we need to kind of, I mean, personally, I just think we need to simplify it. I mean, yes, all tire, we went through plan commission, we did that the best we could with what we had to work with. All we're really asking, I don't know, Mr. Everly, like I said, had discussed coming, for this parking issue, coming and getting in front of the BZA to get this straightened out. So I'm not sure what exactly the wording of that is and what we're asking for. But basically, if you strip it back down to the basics, all we're asking is for Mr. Majeski to be able to park 6 cars on All Tire's property that is not being used by All Tire. I don't think that's, I don't think we need to complicate it to that point. It's a pretty simple request. Can he park cars on the neighbors or not? I mean, that's basically it.
And you're probably right, my questions are not for you. They're for people in this building.
Well, I understand, and I understand there's probably other multiple properties in town just like this one that you have to deal with. Because, it's old Cedar Lake, as you want to say it. But we've got to deal with it. I'd like to take it to the simple, not the difficult.
We've got a couple letters in here, one from N & Sons, one from All Tire, saying everything's okay, it's approved. I really don't see any problem with it. I don't understand where we're in violation of the code here. And I mean, I was all set to come in here today and say, go park. Well, now I'm confused.
I think, and Mr. Austin can correct me if I'm wrong, but when this became a lot of record, correct? And then now all of a sudden, it has to abide by the current zoning ordinance, as opposed to the north lot.
Yeah, but what zoning ordinance?
Okay, so parking in the front yard, that's one, and the second one would be 2 uses on a single lot. So there would be All Tire along with Grand Prize Auto. Is there anything that I misspoke or anything to add?
No, I don't think so. And to Rob's point about Old Cedar Lake, had All Tire not desired to be in this property and the solution found to have a 1-lot subdivision platted so that a building permit could be pulled, that's literally why it happened. I mean, if we're laying our cards on the table,
yes.
It was for that reason only. And now that the 1-lot subdivision is completed, it's been prosecuted correctly with waivers and a lot of speed. And Jerry, you and John know, you were there at the Plan Commission as that happened. Now we want to go back, as I hear the discussion piece, to Old Cedar Lake. We did New Cedar Lake to get All Tire into the building and get their business ramped up, and now we're backing up and saying, well, we got that done, now we're going to go back to Old Cedar Lake. We're going to park cars where we park them, or however that works. So, it's your call where the line gets drawn. It's your call where you stand the wall and say, this can pass or it can't. And, but literally that's the simplified from the town's perspective. And the town has accomplished what was sought by the business owners and the business property owner. Got that lot of record platted quickly. Didn't take long. It was on an accommodation basis, and here we are.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
it was processed most quickly.
Yeah. Yep. Understood. All right.
Make no mistake, these are 3 good businesses.
Yeah. Absolutely.
If we approve this, will there be any violations once he starts parking cars there?
Well, he's parking them there, so it doesn't matter.
Well, then why is he even here if it doesn't matter?
You're right, it does, I mean, I don't know why he's here.
Well, I make a motion, we approve it according to the way the petition has been presented. And,
we have to get the remonstrance first, John.
Pardon?
We have to get the revised code first, then we can get there.
I'll withdraw my motion right now.
Mr. President, just one more thing, and to John's point. This can be as much about this petition, this property, these problems, whatever they are, as it is about the future. I'm not in agreement with Rob that this is about Old Cedar Lake. You have properties, commercial properties, immediately south and nearby that are going to present themselves soon to you. And they're going to be adjacent to all these properties that we're emerging out of Old Cedar Lake. So where you draw the line and where you set the standards and where you set the bar is really, really important. That's why this is important, John.
So should that parcel, be made into a one lot subdivision?
It should. Actually, there should have been, that platting should have occurred. If the hurry had slowed down just a bit, there'd have been an evaluation that took care of a multi-lot subdivision or perhaps a bigger one lot with the variance of use. There were ways to handle it. That didn't happen. Altair got in record time. The goal was accomplished for the business enhancement, but it was at the cost of process.
Okay. So then if he made that a one lot subdivision, then it would make this easier to allow the parking there?
Well, it would. You have to give, again, there's no simple answer to any one question. There's a totality of circumstances here. Do you want 3 businesses on a property like this or this size? I don't know. That's evaluation for you if it's presented in that fashion. Do you want to make certain that our standard, which is fairly black and white in our code, there's a primary business or primary use per structure, per lot of record? Or are there going to be multiples? Typically, if there are multiple development or businesses, there would be multiple lots in a platted subdivision. Doesn't have to be. This is Cedar Lake coming out of, older times into newer criteria.
Well, there would only be 2 businesses on the car lot property, and there would be, if we allowed the parking, 2 businesses on Altair. So there wouldn't be any parcels that would have 3 businesses on it.
Well, if that's how it platted and ended it in an end plat plan, you're right. Could be that way.
Because if he made it a one lot subdivision, he's not gonna take and chop off that triangle and give it to the other one, after he went through all the work of doing everything before, and then, it seems like a lot of work for him right now to allow one of his tenants to park 6 cars.
Right.
So, I mean,
And everybody talks about how quickly this all went through to do the addition for Altair. It really wasn't that quick. I mean, that's the way it should be. It shouldn't take a year to get that approved. It took us a few months. How this all came about to replat that lot from 3 to 2 was we came in initially and met with staff, Rick Everly, the town engineer. I think there might have been a couple of town board members there. They all met ahead of time. What was going to be a plan? How could we do this? Because neither one of these lots met anything. And it was almost impossible to meet anything, lot width, any of that stuff. We could not meet. So that's why it went the way it did, because we had to come and ask for waivers, because there was no way to meet any of those things. Unless you went in there and, like I said, tore everything down. So the suggestion was to do it the way we did it. Seek a few waivers, bring it in front of the, we came here first, got approval, and then we went to the planning commission. So, it did take quite a few months to do. It wasn't super quick. There was quite a bit of discussion, a lot of back and forth. So this thing was looked at. And the problem is, what wasn't looked at is how it affected Mr. Majeski. That was the one thing we didn't look at. And now that's where we are. So we're just trying to get Mr. Majeski back to where he was. I understand the town's point that there's more properties coming down the road, and if they let us park some on the adjacent property, they can't really say no to the next guy coming in here. But I think this is kind of a unique circumstance because it's always been this way. Mr. Majeski parked there before. It was due to the rezone or the replat of all tires lot that affected Mr. Majeski's. I would actually be in favor of you just allowing Mr. Majeski to park there now, and then if Mr. Majeski ever leaves, we won't ever let the next guy park there. I just want to get him back whole where he was prior to the south lot.
All right, thanks, Mr. Hen.
Sure.
I'm gonna have you have a quick seat, if you don't mind, and, I'm looking for any remonstrators for or against this variance out there. Anyone for or against the variance? Jill, did you have anything online other than what I'm gonna put into the record from the packet?
No, sir.
Okay. We've got a letter here from Mr. Jeff Braze of All Tire Services, who is a tenant on this lot that we're discussing. The gist of it is that, this letter is to inform all parties involved that Jeff Braze of All Tire Services agree and approve of the continued use of this area by Mr. Norman Majeski of Grand Prize Cars for the use of parking and displaying his vehicles, as this small corner is not needed or of any use by All Tire Services. So we want to make sure that letter's in the record. With that, the public portion is now closed. Mr. Hen, please come back up. Thank you. Jill, did you have anything else for us?
I do have one thing, at the request of 6 cars, defining where those 6 cars would be, will they be on 10 by 20 parking spaces? Or zoning, as we've done other commercial or industrial, their parking spaces are 10 by 20.
Okay.
And making sure that those would comply. I know it's not currently striped and size of vehicles can change, but as we defined the parking area for All Tire, defining those parking spaces so that way there's no confusion, any traffic coming in off of 41.
I think Mr. Majeski's original proposal has those cars on there in those positions. He stood here and spoke that exactly. Front row and second row.
Front row and second row, but he also had said that they can alter which way he faces those depending on how many cars he has and how many are there. So I just wanted to make sure for the record we more so define that those 6 can't just be anywhere in that lot.
Okay. Mr. Hen, what happens if Mr. Majeski is not able to park these cars there?
Well, Mr. Majeski, his whole business, he's been there for how many years? 6 years. His whole business plan is based on, I believe 25 cars. He's been approved 6 years ago by the Secretary of State to park 25 cars there. Without these, he can't really meet that.
Okay.
And you have to understand, he keeps the cars or those spaces by his office or for patrons, for customers.
Mm-hmm.
So all his inventory needs to go up in the front.
Okay.
Jill, so I'm clear. If Mr. Majeski's delivery truck uses the entrance that's on the All Tire lot, is that 2 uses on that lot? The body shop gets deliveries on that driveway, that's another use on the lot. I want to be clear about what I'm seeing here. I see that third lot was actually a strip down the center. So those 2 businesses were in that same plane.
I will defer to legal on that question. I do not know the answer.
I dismissed the question.
Okay. We're gonna dismiss you too, Gary. Jeff, you out there?
I am, I'm still here.
Okay. You have anything to add?
Well, in hearing what I'm, the different banter that I hear, from this sure sounds to me like this, and Jill, I tried to follow your explanation why this is a developmental variance, but it sure seems like this has more telltale signs of being a variance of use.
Well, I believe it's a use variance and a developmental variance, but that's just me talking. I just wanna make sure we do this right when we do act on this. And I guess,
I will defer to David on that. I advertised it as discussed with the previous council.
Definitely a variance of use minimally. How you construe parking 6 cars in a front yard, that's a call for the board. I mean, it seems to me that that's variance of use timber, you're parking in a front yard. Okay. Anybody else came here and asked for front yard parking, we'd say that was use. So we're seeking a variance from what our strict standards and zoning ordinance are about parking and location of parking on a lot.
okay.
And then the uses, or a number of uses, that's clearly variance of use, timber.
So do we act on this as a use variance?
Well,
It's not advertised as a use variance.
Right.
it's got multiple components to the application. You have a developmental and variance of use here.
And just to be clear, the difference would be us sending a recommendation to the town council or us acting on this tonight.
Well, and different standards, I mean, we've heard it already tonight, the different foundations on the findings of fact. Practical difficulties is the developmental variance, and hardship is
True.
among the 5 elements of a variance of use, 2 different standards.
Okay.
And right now we have spaghetti.
Well, he's not really developing anything there, he's asking for use.
Right.
So the way I see it is that we could make a motion to deny the developmental variance, and that takes care of that. And we could make a motion to approve 2 businesses, or send a favorable, 2 businesses, 1 lot being the all-tire lot, and for parking, in the front yard for the 6 cars.
John, the longer you sit here, the wiser you sound.
Boy, you know how long many years it took me to get that wise?
Long time.
I know, I take Prevagen now too.
Must work.
Give me some of that. But that's the way I see it. Now, am I wrong there?
No, you can take that path. That covers both filings, or both items before you, if you will.
In each case that comes before us is treated on its individual merits. So I'm not worried about somebody coming in 6 months from now and saying this, because they have to bring their merits in and show it to us that we need to do this,
That's true.
or not do that.
That's true.
So I'm not worried about setting a precedence here.
Well, let your lawyer worry about that then, because that precedent means something along the way. And that's why we rely on old cases that become new cases, that become current cases. But your call on it, on the decision, and we'll live with it.
All right.
Well, I don't, kinda like Tim, we'll live with what John said. You sound like my brothers.
I guess Dave's telling it like it is. So,
You
Been a lot easier.
wanna know the truth, you don't want any beating
No, I
around
wanna
the
know
bush.
the truth. Yeah.
Okay, so, I mean, but you're also judges, and judges make rulings every day that people either don't like, don't understand, or don't agree with, but that's the way it goes.
yeah, and I think if any approval is gonna be given on this, if there is, that, just to go along with what Mr. Hen said, we ought to just limit this to the petitioner, even if no approval is even gonna be considered, the bare minimum. But, also taking into account everything Mr. Austin stated, holds a lot of weight. Ray, Jerry, you guys got anything to add to this?
No, it needs a president.
I mean, obviously it sounds simple, right, we're just talking parking cars, but it does get a little like, it got tied up one way, then it gets unraveled and goes back to the way it was. I guess the question, this picture has got like 9.5 cars, you know, if I'm just looking at this blued out area. What's the policing side of this, or like, I mean, is someone gonna have to chase him down if he's got 7 cars on it, everything, I mean, like, where do you, like, how do you really, what's right and what's wrong,
Well,
you know?
I guess it has been policed to an extent, and that's probably why he's here. And I guess this would continue, right?
There was citation. He was cited and, you know, paid fines.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there'd have to be something quantified, something that's enforceable if any approval was given.
Again, just looking forward, if the next person comes in here and says, hey, you let them do it, but they got 10 cars and you said 6, I just don't wanna,
Right.
I don't wanna be wrestling with this on everything.
It's more an area than it is a car count, I mean, really, is what it is. It's from that south entry line, that yellow painted line, to his north.
And you take care of the 6 cars by striping it.
Mm-hmm.
Striping parking spaces?
Yeah.
I don't think we're opposed to that, just in that area.
Pardon?
Just in that area.
It's all I'm suggesting is that just in that area.
I mean, we would be up for that. We don't wanna stripe this whole
That
lot.
way there, yeah, that way there, it would just be 6 cars. If they weren't in the slots, then, you know.
I'm gonna drag you in here, Mrs. Philatus, you've been awfully quiet. This whole discussion about a use variance as opposed to a developmental variance, or to include a developmental variance. Have an opinion on this?
I'm gonna usually defer to the BZA. I think John said it pretty appropriately. It seems to be more of a use variance, and I think if there is a decision made, for policing matters, I think the striping is probably something that's gonna be useful for the town moving forward, just in order to keep account that there's 6 vehicles as, or if it is passed as such.
Okay, thank you.
There's no way to police this. There's no way to police this. I agree with Rob, when the building was being added on to, a lot of Jeff's cars were askew, but they didn't have prices in the windows.
Right.
And as I said, at 3 o'clock today, 3:38 today, I go by there and there's a car where it doesn't belong. Did it have a price in the window? No. Could have been one of Jeff's? Sure. So there's so much of this that never made any sense to me.
Right.
And that's me. So back to the president.
Sorry I brought that up.
Well, is there any other information that you all need to share, Mr. Henn?
I'm just curious, when did this become such a big deal? I mean, this place has been this way forever. When did this become a big deal? When did he start getting tickets for parking in a place he's been parking for years? I mean, I don't understand why this became a big deal. It really doesn't make any sense to me.
Rob, it's not that it's a big deal. You and Ryan Marich stood there when I asked about the cars. He said, oh, that's gonna stay the same. And I said, it can't stay the same, because now we've triggered this flow of some compliance. I talked to Mr. Everly about it. He said, yeah, really, it can't, legally, it really can't stay. That's how all this kinda got.
Yeah, I mean, that was, you know, a year and a half ago we came in for that approval. I mean, this just came up. When did you get the first ticket on it? October. You know, it just shocks me, and what triggered this to become such a big ordeal, but I guess it really doesn't matter. I mean, it just seems petty to me.
It's more about 2 businesses on one piece of property.
I understand that, Jerry, completely. Like I said, I have no problem with, just letting Mr. Majeski, and if you guys can approve it, and then anybody after him that would lease that space would not be able to cross the line. And at that time, we would restripe it or put up bollards or something to define the property line. I mean, I don't know.
All right. Well,
How do you do that? Do you just record something that says it goes back to the way it was if they do get the variance today?
No, I'd prepare the certification or the action of the town council to reflect that.
Okay.
It would be in the records of the town.
So just to get this straight, we do not need the developmental variance on this petition. He's asking for developmental variance to park 6 cars.
Yes and no, depends on how you make the motion.
The way it's advertised.
I'm reading how it's advertised exactly and how it was noticed, and you could include in the recommendation to the town council and a vote on the use variance, or variance of use, condition that those 6 parking spaces, you could combine them, if you will, and eliminate the developmental variance by a motion to deny, as you suggested. In fact, you said it pretty
Right.
cleanly.
I think that would be the best situation.
Takes care of everything that's before you on this property when it gets out of your hands into the council and they finish with it.
All right, then, I'd like to make 2 motions. First motion is to deny the developmental variance that is presented by the petitioner.
Okay. Do you have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Kapura and seconded by Mr. Jackson to deny this developmental variance.
Nick,
Yes, sir.
and could you base that upon the public hearing record that has been made about this matter? So that there's something that explains it.
Based on a public record created at this meeting tonight.
That's good.
You made your motion?
Yes,
Okay.
to read that.
Okay. All right. So we've got an amended motion to include this denial based on public record created at this meeting this evening. That suffice, Mr. Rosh? That's good. Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Wilkening?
Yes.
Mr. Kapura?
Yes.
Mr. Bungie?
Yes.
Mr. Cupido?
Yes, motion carries 5-0.
Okay, now I'm gonna try to make another motion. I'd like to send a favorable recommendation to the town council to approve the use of 2 businesses on 1 lot, and to park 6 cars in the area mentioned in the petition. The 6 cars will be in a striped area, so that area has to be striped. This agreement or this approval is based on the current tenant and the current tenant only. Should this tenant leave the premises, this parking area will revert back to its original use by all tire. So strike for 6 cars, 2 businesses on 1 lot, present tenant,
Finding?
per the finding of facts.
We have a motion by Mr. Kapura. Do we have a second?
I'll second that one.
A motion by Mr. Kapura, seconded by Mr. Jackson. Discussion here, question for Mr. Austin. This has now become a use variance, or variance of use. In the past, we might have had some problems with timing this in relation to a town council meeting and all
This is
work.
gonna take a couple of weeks. We're gonna need to see the minutes because of how the motion's made and the record. And, council meets next week, Tuesday. This won't be done by Tuesday,
Okay.
so.
So we'll be, it's nothing that has to be crafted into this motion. You guys will handle that all
We'll
internally?
just handle it in normal course.
Okay.
Staff will do their work, and we'll then get the minutes, and I'll do mine, and we'll send it to the council for agenda inclusion.
Okay.
It just won't be in 4 days, it'll be a couple weeks.
Okay. Fair enough. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Any other discussion on the motion?
No, sir.
Mr. Hen, you understand?
I do. If you could just explain to Mr. Majeski what that means of when he may or may not be able to park there, because I don't want
He's
to
parking there,
ticket.
Rob.
He's not parking there now. You don't have anything there now. No. If there's anything parked there, it's gotta be all the time.
You know, if I showed everybody a picture, I'd still be wrong. So-
No, Jerry, I mean, even all his customers pull in there to look at cars, obviously they don't know where the line is, where to park, where not to. But he has no for sale cars.
No for sale cars.
Is what I-
Sometimes people pull up and just park.
Nobody's
their
coming
car.
out.
That's
That
a
good
fair,
enough?
that's a fair
I'm
variable.
not going out there.
No, I know, I just
Waiting
want
for
somebody to
the
let him know.
enforcement officer.
Basically what we're telling you is that you cannot park in that area until
But-
the town council
We're
yeas
not
or nays
enforcing this no more.
my motion. Okay.
Which would not be until
And the
next.
motion still has to be voted on and
When-
passed here.
Essentially March 1st.
Yeah, when the meeting is.
Yeah, okay, so there you go.
March's meetings are the 1st and the 16th for the town council.
I don't want him to get another ticket.
Yeah, understood. Okay. Any other discussion? Jeff, you understand out there?
Clear as mud.
Okay, wonderful.
Touche.
All right. Roll call, please.
Mr. Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Wolfing?
No.
Mr. Kapora?
Yes.
Mr. Bungie?
Yes.
Mr. Akupada?
No, motion carries 3-2. All right, thank you. Finally, on to new business. Item number 1, Collins, developmental variance, John, Dan, and Terry L. Collins, property being in the vicinity of 13857 Cuban Street. This developmental variance is to allow the petitioner to build an addition with a 6-foot 7-inch side yard setback on the north property line consistent with the existing home. Mr. Austin, are the legals in order?
Legals are in order.
All right, thank you, sir. Do we have a petitioner, or I'm sorry, do we have a petitioner for this request? Yes.
Yes.
Please state your name and address for the record.
Dan Collins, 13857 Houston Street, Cedar Lake.
Okay, and the reason for your request?
I'm just trying to, excuse me, enlarge the home. We're at about 960 square feet. The home was built in the 30s, and I'm sure, as you all know, on the lakefront homes, a lot of these, insulation's not good. I want to redo, obviously, some of the plumbing, heating, electrical, but then also put an addition on so we could have a little more square footage.
Okay. Jill?
They want to put the proposed garage addition and proposed addition and existing setbacks on the existing home are 6.7 feet. So they are asking for consideration to be consistent with the existing home.
Okay. So, foundation, walls, eaves would all be consistent with the existing home?
That's correct.
Okay.
So they're just asking for that setback along the
On the north side.
property line.
Okay. This is an interesting kind of part of the lake with there being the 10-foot walkway around it. Lot coverage, Jill, does not seem to be an issue, but is that only taking into account that lot that the home is on?
No, it takes into consideration the entirety of the lot, including the walkway that is part of their lot.
It is, okay.
I sat down and reviewed this one extensively with Tim.
Okay.
My question is, the request is for a building addition, and he's shown a garage and a building addition.
Yeah.
but he's only asking for a building addition.
Was the garage part of the building, the addition?
So the petitioner to build an addition.
Build an addition.
Build an
I just took it as all.
It would be solid, the whole.
It's
to me,
proposed in the
two-
site plan,
Two separate buildings.
but
They're attached.
they're attached to the existing.
I understand they're attached, but one's on this side, one's on that side.
Correct, yeah.
It says the building addition, on here it says proposed addition. The other one says proposed garage. Nothing on here says garage, that's why I'm questioning
Oh,
it.
I took it as both being proposed garage and being an addition. I can clarify those in the future. I went off the site plan and just did a proposed addition. That was my interpretation of the request.
In the packet that was submitted, we've got the application and a survey along with some photos taken. Do you have, plans for the home that you submitted?
I do have plans, yes, I do. I didn't think I had a, no, I've got them.
No, we
I have
just went
them.
off the site plan showing where the proposed addition would be.
So, do you have those in hand, Phil?
I do not have
No.
those in hand because I went with the fact that he's just asking for the setback.
Is this gonna be a single story, double story?
Single story.
Single story, everything? Okay,
Is the other garage coming down?
It's a walkout on the lakefront,
okay,
but I could have an existing basement.
okay.
Is the existing garage coming down?
No.
Jeff, you wanna chime in out there, or are you okay right now?
I'm still kind of trying to digest this a little bit, so I'm okay for now. The fence along the north side of the property, Dan, does your property end at the walkway, or do you carry on then in the vacated Mona property?
He carries on,
He carries-
Jeff. The walkway is, an easement. It's a walkway.
Okay,
So he carries on all the way down to the, 50/50 mark that you see, near where the stone and the dock are located. It meets up with, an outlot from the HOA.
okay. Yeah, that's about all I've got at this time.
Okay, thanks, Jeff. Ray, you got anything to add right now?
What's the percentage of property coverage with all this? Is there a number here somewhere I missed?
Yeah, I think Jill had.
No, I believe in my case getting here today, I left that in my notes in my office, but I can
That's all right.
recalculate it.
I was just curious.
My
I see it-
apologies, I know it was under, because I know Nathan sat here and I've got one with all my calculations on it, and I must not have grabbed it when I walked in.
But it's under 25%.
It is.
So,
Okay, even with that, I see a proposed deck in there too, is that included in that?
That was included in that.
Okay.
alright. John, you have anything else for us right now, sir? No? Okay. Alright,
One of the things was trying to stay in line with the existing home with this addition. If he was to move the proposed addition into 8 feet and have it kind of jut off the existing house, or just have a weird line, but it could be done.
okay.
We were just trying for, I should say you were, not me,
Keep it in
to
conjunction
have
with
building
this
lines
existing
follow
home.
consistently on that north property line.
Understood. Okay, Mr. Collins, you mind having a seat for a second, please? We'll go to remonstrance. Do we have any remonstrators out there for or against this variance? Anyone, sir, please, step on up. Name and address for the record.
Jerry Wilkening, 10826 West 131st Avenue, Cedar Lake. I'm speaking on behalf of the adjacent property owner to the north. The submittal survey seems to be fairly accurate, but would you pull up the GIS, please? I just have a couple concerns. I know Jill said this was reviewed with her and Tim, but Can you back out a little bit, Jill? Just a little history lesson. Some years ago, this house was built on the sewer line. This home here had some backfill problems, to the point where, under recommendations by me to Mr. Kubiak, he get a waiver from the neighbor. We also have, this is a relatively tight space where the water runs. So on the survey that's there, it mentions the planned grade. What does it say off to the left? In that little area there?
Which side are you referring to, Mr. Wilson?
On the survey, off to the left, it mentions, over here in the little index, mentions existing grade, and it says proposed grade 714. So I take that as all the spoils from the foundation in the hole will be gone. So, the walking path, it's this little area here, certainly has caused problems in this area. This, not at all. My concern is accuracy without having top of foundation, top of footing. My concern is for the grade post-building. On-site oversights, I can think of a few of the past. I think a few more details here to make sure things aren't, we're not going to go down a slippery slope. The home that's at the walking path now has an issue because there's power lines over the top of where the gentleman liked to build his deck. So this is probably the best plan I've seen so far, but there are a few details that really need to be dialed in. What they plan on doing, I haven't seen. We've briefly discussed it on occasion, but I think we need a few more details here.
I believe the grade is important in what's done there, especially lakeside.
I guess knowing the elevation of the addition and the new home, or how it's going to happen, the garage, I mean, if the garage is held up higher, how do you backfill something that's, less than 7 feet from a foundation?
Mm-hmm.
There's a few details here that I really would prefer not to have to argue with the building department about or question the building department. So those are a couple things that just kind of concern me. On the lakeside, the existing foundation is out of the ground all of 4 feet. There's also, on that survey, there's also a building in the ground that's an old a well pump house. It doesn't belong to the petitioner, however, it is 99.9% on their property. It shows the addition. I'm not sure what the distance is between that building and where their new deck would be. And make no mistake, what I believe they're going to do is going to be a huge improvement. And I will even say, on behalf of them, their hardship is they'd like a house that's closer to what's required as opposed to what was originally a cottage. So I'd like you to take some of those considerations into mind. Without seeing the house plans, which aren't required. I'm quite certain what we're seeing is exactly what's required. without seeing those plans, we really don't, I'm not sure I can get a feel for how the backfill would go. I do disagree with the arrow on the south side of the house, is the way the water runs. With effects to the neighbors, either neighbor, I just don't know how most of the soil won't have to be removed from the property. The backfill plan, I'm really concerned about, in lieu of the property I mentioned earlier, where two neighbors are gonna work together, push all the dirt down the hill, and pretty soon one neighbor wasn't happy, but Tim had a waiver. So the liability was between the neighbors, not between the town. So,
Won't a lot of your concerns be answered at the plan commission level?
Not sure this will go to the plan
this
commission.
won't be at the plan commission, John.
Okay,
No, this is pretty straightforward.
then it would be answered, wouldn't they be answered by, building department when he comes in for a permit? Doesn't Don have to look at all this?
We would have Don look at.
Don will determine the final grade?
We would have Don look at what was proposed as far as the building permit goes, especially being in an older pre-platted subdivision and knowing the homes that you brought up that we had some issues with.
I'm mentioning some things in particular because here and away from here, what I hear is, well, that's the standard. That's what's in our code. That's what's in our rules. But if in any way, shape, or form you're going to negatively affect neighbors with the unknown of an approval, I'm just I'm a little torn with that.
Absolutely.
And
So what kind of information do you think he needs to provide to us?
I think certainly final grade, top of foundation, et cetera. I also think that little building, we need to know the distance between the deck and that building. Will that building remain there for another 100 years? Probably.
I'm guessing about 10 feet.
Well, yes, but it's kind of an outbuilding, and you know there's
That scale.
All right.
those are
There's something funny about that well house, it's crooked. So,
It's crooked.
it's crooked.
.33
It's off
west
kilter.
row house
It's-
encroachment.
Well, that's the old
One
Cedar
foot on
Lake.
the north.
Old Cedar Lake. Kick that provision in again.
All right.
it certainly is Old Cedar Lake, and again, that well house has been a contentious subject for my whole life. And I'm not sure it'll get resolved anytime soon, because the HOA is having some staffing and attending issues.
Jerry, is there actually a well in that well house?
There's a casing in there, it's not functioning, and is due to be, has been assigned to be filled, capped, disabled. That is according to the ex-president of the HOA, that request has been sent to the proper company. So the final grade is what I'm most concerned about. Without seeing the house plan, we also don't know what that north facade looks like, because any bump outs certainly would change this request from 6.7 to who knows what. And that's kind of the problem with having the minimum. And it's our minimum, and it's totally legal.
Well,
So your recommendation is for the project?
I think
Stipulations.
I'm for the project,
don't point
as
that
long as
laser over
these,
here.
as long as these details are established ahead of time. because we get in situations where we, build and design after the fact, and, that's, in this area, it's proven not to be, not the best arrangement.
Doesn't work out too well.
No, this will be big remodel number 4, and, I'd love to see it as smooth can be.
Okay.
And like I said, these people have a relatively small house, and, I mean, the hardship is to bring it into, compliance by making it a little bigger, so.
Okay.
Jerry, how long's the well house been out of commission? The well structure, I'm sorry.
40 years, closer to perhaps 50.
So it's not like, it's not susceptible of being recommissioned for,
The probabilities are next to nothing. And I've mentioned to the ex-president that, and the HOA in general, I said, please, give it to the Collinses for $1. Just get a document that says it has to stay that way unless agreed to by the adjacent property owners, because tearing it down will, there's a 6 or 7 foot drop off the front of that, so it changes the whole topography there. If it was to be filled, there's not enough space to taper it really into much of a hill. That's of course just my opinion.
I know it may not do this to the rest of you, but to the lawyer in the room, that screams at me like a pimple on an elephant's fanny. And, you know, the kind of weirdness to it, the well house. I'm just wondering about what that means to the adjacent owner, function in the future, if at all, whether the structure, it's legal non-conforming, by the way, going back as long as you say, probably what, since the 30s? 30s?
Oh, yeah.
Your house was built in 29?
29 or 30, yeah. It might be 29.
Yes. So, the well house, I made it as simple for the HOA as I could make it. Collins and I have talked about it more than once, more than twice, maybe more than 10 times. The HOA just will not budge on getting their protocol in order to get a vote together.
There's no return on investment for them to do anything.
It's zero, and unfortunately, what the HOA doesn't really take into consideration is if somebody falls off that or gets hurt on it, it's theirs. It's theirs.
Well, if it, as appears here, to be encroaching into the next lot, that's a problem.
It does in inches. And their survey, what they have presented there, matches fairly well. The lines, the fence, all that stuff that I had done in 2015 with the stake survey. Some of these things are inches. However, the end game is that accuracy of everything. I'm not sure in any way, shape, or form. And what was submitted by the Collins is it mentions that 12 by 12 area in the legal description. Is them accepting that on, that's not my area of expertise, accepting the 12 by 12 area that appears on the property. Of course, that was from 1929. So, I guess,
isn't that boathouse, or that well house a concern to you guys?
It is and it isn't. We're considering possibly, if this transpired, number one, let you go. It has been contracted with Sheehy Wells to go ahead and cap it, and take care of the pumping and that, and hopefully get the storage tank up. we may end up keeping it there and making a shed.
Storage shed.
And dressing it up nice.
Dress
so
it up.
it's- Cause it's
More
an
so
it's an eyesore. It's an eyesore.
It's a hazard to
Everybody.
the association.
And a hazard.
And we'd like to eliminate that. Make it, put it, between the Wilkenings and us, let's fix it up, let's make it look nice.
A simple document from the HOA would have taken care of this almost in totality. However, there's other priorities evidently. I'm not sure we have a president anymore, and I'm not sure we have a vice president who wants to be a president,
No.
so.
Is the 12 by
not at
12
all.
parcel accepted out of your legal description on your home?
Is it,
I believe it's in the corner of the upper left corner.
Yes.
In the box. I believe it calls it out there.
yes, it does.
The title company, the, survey, all along, there's
I see it.
Yeah.
nothing of which we need to be concerned with.
Oh, yeah, you do.
Well, yeah.
Oh, yeah, you do. Oh, yeah, you do.
Anything else, Mr. Welkening?
No, this is
Try
not,
to get it
this
right.
is not a design meeting, I understand.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of pieces to this puzzle, and, again, without knowing top of foundation and how things are gonna be backfilled, right now, it works the way it works.
Mhm.
And, anybody who wants to, look at it themselves, I would say, from my point of view, you have access to the north anytime you want,
All right.
so.
Thank you, sir.
That's all I have. Thanks.
Thanks for your time. Do we have any other remonstrators out there for or against the variance? Anybody out here for or against the variance? Ms. Murray, anything online?
No, sir.
Okay. With that being said, excuse me, the public portion is now closed. Can the petitioner please step back up? So, Mr. Collins, Mr. Wilkening, I believe brings up some valid concerns, regarding water flow and runoff.
I've talked with the excavator, actually, two excavators. My concern is water also. I've had to put an extensive inside drainage system because there's no drain tile in the house. That's another reason I want to get some drain tile in it, because we're getting runoff.
Mm-hmm.
But Jerry and I have talked about this before, and I want the same thing as he did. I don't want water going to somebody else. So what we're considering is some swales and swaling everything. In front of the garage, I want to put a drain, because we're getting water down down the hill.
Yeah, you got an elevation drop there, it looks like.
Yes, yeah. Well, from
Serious.
the street down is 20-some feet to the
Right.
lake, but anyway, and put a nice draining system into that also, and some swales that we can deter the water. In discussing the well house, keeping it there is actually, can help out in all of our, because there's no major problem with water right now.
If you removed it in its entirety,
Right.
it's only 12 feet by 12 feet, and you have a grade change, if you look at what they have there, you have a grade change of probably 6 or 7 feet.
So it acts as a retaining wall.
It's acting as a retaining wall, and the
And there's one brick wall
and
there.
Collins is having that, and storing stuff in there,
Yeah.
that'd be great. It finally would serve another purpose after
And making
50
it,
years.
and making
I was gonna store
it, making it
him.
nice, because he's gonna store me.
I can't say that out loud.
Not enough room, Dan.
But anyway, just for the enhancement, Cedar Lake number one, but of our subdivision, for all of us, we want to get that done, so.
Yeah, more usability.
And I will be
as
glad
well.
to, work with, the building department, whatever, and making sure the grades are proper. And I do have a print, if you need that, I can leave that here tonight,
What's the print of?
of the additions.
Okay, so what's the survey you got here?
Yeah.
Oh, that there.
I guess I have to ask, is the north facade gonna have any bump outs? Or is it?
I'm sorry.
Ma'am, do you mind bringing, can we take a look at that, please? I know it's not required, but it's helpful.
It shows lots of walls and foundations and everything.
On that north wall, will anything project out?
No,
negative?
no.
It'll be flush?
It all stays flush with the existing.
The soffit, the same soffit runs going all the way down.
So this is 2 stories on the lakeside
One story.
with a basement?
No, one story.
No, one
Oh, so
story.
walkout.
Walkout.
So the existing roof line of this house now, is that going to change the elevation?
Elevation should pretty much stay the same.
Yes. Okay. It appears that way.
They show Newbury lower.
That's on the lakeside.
Yeah.
How do you have a walkout without chopping into the hill?
Because it's 20-foot drop.
If we're gonna have that, then I gotta give it a dirt.
So
We're gonna come down.
the curvature of the hill will be,
No, that's not, nothing to do with that.
okay, that's what I
Yeah.
thought.
No, we're so far away from like the well house.
Yeah,
If
yeah.
we scale it, you'll see it's, I think it's 25 feet or something from that even.
Oh, so you're pulling this whole thing down.
Yeah. To match the other
Yeah,
basement.
see here, between some,
So when you walk out, you gotta walk up and then go down the hill,
Probably.
Or I gotta get rid of a bunch of dirt, which I don't know if we wanna do.
which is the hill.
Yeah.
And now we're getting into the walking path.
No, it won't be near the walking path.
Okay.
That's in front of the well house.
Good.
So just to be clear, the elevation of grade after this project is completed, it's showing, it actually is going to come up maybe 1.5 feet. So you're going existing grade of 716.
And you, it'll be
Right, it's actually gonna
706.
go down.
Going down.
Going down.
It's going down.
Okay.
Everything's been going down
Yeah.
towards the lake.
But as Mr. Wilkening stated, which is valid, concern regarding runoff and direction,
Mhm.
flow of water,
Sure.
you don't plan on bringing the grade up around the house with any type of soil? Okay. It stays,
If I do that, then it's gonna, the neighbor, excuse me, the neighbor to the north, Mrs. Wilkening, they're higher in the one end than we are right now. And then it slopes down, and it kind of matches. If I raise mine up, yeah, then we're gonna go. No, I'm not raising it up.
okay.
I wanna make a swale there to deter the water so it can keep going down and not get into the house at all.
Okay.
Jill, since you've gone over this a little bit, the walkout, so this basement's gonna walk out at existing grade, is that what?
Correct.
Okay, all right, okay. So this is single story, however, it's
From the lake,
2 stories, it's 2
it'll-
stories
two
exposed.
story from the lake.
Okay, all right, I got it. That's why these things are helpful.
Right. Jill, did you have anything else for us, building department end? Anything for us, Mr. Austin?
Thank you.
Jerry, the concerns that we would have with, top foundation, knowing that, grades, need some more information on that? Or,
I think a real good review by Don would be helpful.
yeah,
I see now kind of what I was looking for.
okay. Jeff, are you still out there?
I'm still here.
Okay, do you have anything for us?
No, I really don't. I mean, if it's something that we think we can, get rectified as far as a, swale and elevation change in a motion with the engineer, I don't see any issues.
Is the garage going to be just single story to match the roof of the house?
Yes.
So the garage footing will be the same height as the basement wall?
Yes.
And
It's gonna match up to,
match up?
you can walk, yeah. Well, there'll be one step going in that, but it matches up.
Exactly. Got it. Got it.
My thing is too, like, we're just trying to get this variance, hopefully we can get it approved. I wanna get started here with spring, hopefully, and we need to order, as you all know, material. You can't get You can't get nothing. You gotta be looking for months ahead of time.
My parents are trying to put windows in their house, and there's a 14-week, wait
Exactly.
time for 2 windows. It's crazy.
The good news is Schilling's getting a bigger building.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Jeff's recommendation, just commenting on that, I like that.
Okay. So after the fact that, we're okay with that, if approval's given, make sure that there's thoroughness by the town engineer.
Prior to a permit being issued.
Prior, okay.
I have to recuse myself, obviously, from voting, so.
Absolutely, yeah. Okay. Ray, did you have anything else? John, either of you gentlemen?
No, I'm okay right now.
Okay.
I want this one to go way better than the last one. The one before that, and the one before that.
I can bring about the old days of Cedar Lake, so.
Well.
I've been around here probably longer than anybody, so.
Well, you have, but you know whose neck of the woods you're at now.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the runoff thing is important, though, I mean, that is.
Oh, definitely.
Especially with all the road lines you're adding.
Well, and the pictures that Jill has here, you got, 6.5 feet, give or take, between the house and the fence. Now you've lengthened that stretch of causeway.
Right.
So.
Yep.
Well, go to 6'9" on the other end.
Yeah, I was happy to see the surveys are within inches of matching each other.
Yeah, that'll be a nice addition to put some drain tile around that place too. There's nothing there now.
Oh, it has to.
Yeah, keep the basement dry. Okay. All right, with that being said, do we have a motion out there to approve or deny this variance? This will be a developmental variance. This is a board decision. Mr. Capora, you're busy over there.
Yeah, I was, just commenting on how much he looks like his son.
Okay.
Of course, that turned into golf.
Anyone like to make a motion?
What is this? This is,
That I think it'd be wise, once again, for the motion to include, review by the town engineer prior to permit being issued.
I'd like to make a motion to approve this developmental variance to allow the petitioner to build an addition with a 6-foot, 7-inch side yard setback on the north property line, consistent with the existing home, and also to include the addition of the garage. Prior to permit being issued, we would like to see a good review done by town engineer as far as drainage and what have you on that property, include the finding of facts.
All right, thank you, sir. Do we have a second on that motion?
I'll second it.
Okay, motion by Mr. Capora, seconded by Mr. Jackson, to allow this developmental variance for the petitioner to build an addition with a 6-foot, 7-inch side yard setback on the north property line consistent with the existing home. Also to allow the garage that is proposed with the contingency that before permit is issued, there is a thorough review by the town engineer regarding drainage, to also include the findings. You understand the motion, sir?
Yes.
Okay, any questions, discussions?
No.
Jeff,
Mr.
you?
Chairman, if I could, instead of a thorough review, engineer approval,
Engineer approval?
if you could modify your,
Okay.
So done.
Okay, all right, we'll amend that motion to include the engineer approval instead of thorough review. Roll call, please.
Mr. Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Wilkening?
Present.
Mr. Capora?
Yes.
Mr. Bungie?
Yes.
Mr. Kubica?
Yes, motion carries 4-1. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Yep, good luck.
Can we leave this with Lucy? Yeah, we can get it. Thank you for your time.
No, thank you. Next item of new business is camp developmental variance and variance of use. Tom and Lori Camp, property being in the vicinity of 12715 Parish Avenue. The developmental variance is to allow the petitioner to build a house 21 feet from Parish Avenue and 15 feet from West End Court, and to allow the existing garage to be used on the property with electric prior to construction of the primary structure. The second request is the petitioner is requesting a variance of use to allow for a second residential use, an in-law suite, on a lot in an R1 zoning district. Mr. Austin?
Legal zone.
Perfect, thank you. We have a petitioner here for this item?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Please come on up, sir, and state your name and address for the record.
Tom Camp, 12715 Parish Avenue, Cedar Lake.
Okay, and the reason for your request?
I was fortunate enough to be able to buy the existing lot at 12715 Parish Avenue after the home burned down apparently last spring, and the property was available. Thankful to inherit a useful and working garage. Also thankful to have a useful well as far as I know. And would like to maximize the use of the property, including the existing driveway with the design that with the home that we've designed. And I think the plat survey that you received electronically should show you that we would like the house to parallel Parish Avenue. And so we do need a front and back variance. I do admit my ignorance to the existing street on the plat before we bought the property, because the previous homeowners did not provide us with a plat survey at house closing. So I know that was my fault that I did not pursue that, and I did not realize that my home was then going to be sandwiched between two roads. So I believe that's my hardship, and therefore I'm asking for the variance for both front and back.
Okay. Thank you. Jill?
This would need a 21-foot front yard setback along Parish, 15-foot setback along West End Court, which falls back in here if you can look on the monitors. This was discussed at a staff level at a department meeting. West End Court was determined to more be an access easement than an actual platted court. Real hard to get some pictures for you on this one, just being a triangle lot and snow coverage last week.
Now, is this something that, just like we were mentioning with Bowman previously, that a road could be determined to be considered a backyard? Is this considered the front yard still?
It is. They're both front yards.
So there should be 30-foot setback on both sides.
And that's why I put, see what page it is.
Actually, John, I think it's supposed to be.
I highlighted in yellow in your packet where the footprint is that would allow the house to be built on this lot, and then the setback request. That would vary, because you would need more along Parish than you would.
Would that existing garage be torn out?
No, sir. I'd like to continue to use it, which is why I asked for the electrical variance. I understand that a primary structure is supposed to precede a secondary building, but the primary structure burned down. So if I buy the property with an existing garage, all I'm asking is, can I please put temporary power on the property so everybody working with me to help develop the home has power until I can get power to the new foundation for the new home.
Then after you move in, you're gonna keep the garage?
Yes, sir.
Did you do coverage still in this?
I advertised it that way to allow the existing garage to be used with electric prior to construction of the primary structure.
Yeah, I've seen that, but, I mean, what's the coverage percentage?
Sorry, picture
With the hardwoods.
I flipped my papers wrong. They would have been at 23.75%. Or they are proposed, it's 23.75% lot coverage.
Okay. Can you explain what's going on with the use variance for the second residential use, the in-law suite? Can you elaborate on that, please?
Certainly, we have aging parents. My parents are in their 80s, her parents are in their 70s. And as their health needs change, my wife is a nurse, so we would like to be able to help our parents as their healthcare needs change. And we all know the cost of healthcare today is exorbitant, to say the least, let alone some of the difficulty you'd have sustaining that out of your parents' estate as they age. So we would like to help in that situation, and we would like to use our home to help them in their aging.
Will this have separate service, or will the service be one service?
One service, one home.
Okay.
It just has a separate front entrance.
Okay.
You can both have your in-laws living with you at the same time.
No, sir.
Oh,
It might
okay,
be
all right.
one or the other.
Okay, just double checking that.
No, it might be one or the other, depending on whose needs might be greater.
That's okay.
You can imagine how much fun that might be.
Somebody's gonna be living in the garage.
My wife's a saint, and she, well, we won't go there.
So,
Go ahead, Ray.
I was saying, at that front entrance view, those double doors, does that go to two separate sections? Just kind of like, is that what's going on there for the double entrance, or?
No, there's the double door is the main entry to the great room.
Okay.
And you can see the double door directly parallel to it, and the back would be out to a back deck.
Okay.
It's gonna be under the existing covered, roof. So the in-law suite has a separate entrance all the way to the front right. It would be furthest south, and the way the home is laid out.
Is it in the pictures here?
Yeah, I highlighted the in-law suite, it is on page 43.
Okay.
Just so you can see the two yellow highlights, and
Yeah.
then to the bottom right there would be the entrance into that area.
Okay.
Basically, instead of building two bedrooms, we're making it one bedroom with a living area with a kitchen and a bath. So two master suites on the main
Pittsburgh
level.
was legal on the way to advertise for this one.
Okay. Mr. Austin, you see any,
No, I haven't seen any issues with it.
No.
Okay. It was a combination, same property, same.
Okay.
There had been, like you said, there had been a fire in an existing home. You can see it on GIS there.
Mr. Wilkening?
Yeah, I was just wondering, there's GIS there. Like some of the homes to the north and to the south, they own to the center of the street.
That's how it was subdivided.
Okay, but doesn't that need to be cleaned up?
I had discussed that with Rick. There
I
are,
mean, we
we've
usually
had-
make
we've had-
people do that all the time.
we have had, it is platted as a subdivision that way. And multiple properties along there have been
Then
built
what?
on, added to, and not.
No, we're not talking about the special people, we're talking about the normal people who come in here.
I'm
And,
talking about everyone from.
Like Lakeshore Drive, on the north end of the lake, the property had to be cleaned up on the paperwork legal to get it where it needed to go. I guess that's not absolutely necessary at this stage of the game, is that what I'm to understand?
No, not really. It does not seem to be necessary to me.
Was that more critical when these are meet and bound parcels?
Yeah, I think so. Again, Old Cedar Lake and transition and change and all of that kind of come into play in my mind. It's a little mushy.
I know what you're referring to, Jay. We've seen a handful of them that came in for, requests, and
I guess this isn't a one-lot subdivision, so, I mean,
I want to question the two uses. You'll have access from the portion of the house that you live in to get into the senior facilities, for lack of a better term. So, once, you no longer have a need for that senior living space, what was your idea of doing with it? You wouldn't be renting it out, or?
No, there were no plans to rent it out. The only other possibility we had considered is sometimes there's a family in need, there's ministries within the church. Certainly there are, say, a pregnant mother in need of a place to live, we might offer that space as the potential place to serve the community.
See, my question is, do they really need a special use, another use for that? I mean, he's got a house and he's bringing his parents or her parents in, and they're just moving in. I mean, I have a mother-in-law with me for 20 years. Yes, God bless me. Yeah, and we just moved her in. You know, so I mean, I don't see. Is it really needed?
I have handled that on behalf of private clients exactly that way, where it's absolutely planned, constructed, mother-in-law or separate living within the same structure, 2 services, 2 sets of bath, you know, all of that. And I've treated it the same in the communities I've done that in, have accepted it as a single-family home.
So he wouldn't need that use.
I discussed it with Tim and with you, and it was the 2 kitchens. Having the 2 kitchens on the same floor defines it as 2 separate living spaces. Because then you could just block that wall off and make it into an apartment otherwise.
So this is it. The petitioner being here is formalizing, following the black and white, but constructively.
Yeah, that's,
Well, constructively, they could have just called it 6 bedrooms. Like John
true,
said.
they could have left it
Like
off.
John
and-
said.
Correct.
I'd feel more comfortable with not even having this use variance on here, and then we don't have to worry about something becoming a rental property down the road. You know, I would like not even see the use variance request.
Too late, you saw it.
Yeah, can't unsee.
But just be careful, Nick, because just on Parish, where the Barajas folks used to live,
right?
We had a big hoop-de-doo about an upstairs apartment in that dwelling a couple of years ago.
It's actually in the garage.
Above the garage, Jeff, from the original.
It's above the, well, it's still separate living space, so
I agree.
Well, I just posed a question, but with 2 kitchens and what have you, and they're willing to go this route, you know, with the use variance, so we'll just leave it.
It gives you some regulatory oversight in this
Yeah.
decision process.
I just wondered from my own knowledge, basically, yeah, okay.
I guess the problem would come in if you guys sold the place and someone at that point wanted to do a multi-unit.
It's another one of those things that's not leasable.
Right. Yeah. That's where it might get weird.
Regarding the picture here, so it's 21 feet in the front yard off Parish. Where is that line in relation to the blacktop?
It's 21 feet from the property line. There's a 40-foot right-of-way for Parish, and their right-of-way is actually, it might be hard for you guys to read on that smaller one. It is defined.
I'm looking at the roadway here, and I just, I've gone by the property a million times, and I looked at it for this, but I'm just trying to get a reference.
Right where that green, I have it highlighted, I apologize.
With the green arrow?
Right where the green arrow is, that's 21 feet from the pavement line.
Well, it is from the pavement.
Mhm.
Okay.
Actually, it's probably a little bit more, more so from the property line versus the pavement line, from the defined right-of-way line. Parish is a 60-foot public right-of-way.
You said
It's
660?
Mm-hmm.
And there's a 40-foot setback off of Parish? Is that one of the, is that one of the federal access roads through town?
Yes, it is.
So that's probably why there's a 40-foot setback through that portion of Parish Avenue, I would presume.
And I kind of agree with you, Jeff. If Parish wasn't 60 feet, I'd be a little concerned that it be expanded on someday. Because there's a lot of space across the street from where this petitioner's property is.
Sir, what's gonna be the total square footage of your home?
2645, if memory serves me right?
That's including garage?
No,
Not including the garage?
not that I remember.
So-
It's not right.
So what you're gonna build won't have a garage.
It will have a two-car garage.
It will have a, so the garage becomes an accessory building.
The existing one, yeah.
So how's, on the east side of this property, where's the closest home at?
It's right behind them.
This one.
It's a little house.
Okay.
I think it was sold to somebody else maybe, though, the property.
It's owned by John Foreman currently, and he's tearing it down this spring.
Wasn't that?
Jackson.
Yeah, wasn't that a firehouse too?
No, not that I know of.
Still standing.
Still standing?
Yep.
Okay, so your property's where the fire was?
Yes, sir.
So there won't be a house, when you're done with your home, there won't be a house close to you or anything?
Not that I'm aware of. I don't know when he's going to rebuild, but he plans on taking that down this spring.
Well, he is gonna rebuild.
Yes, he is.
He owns all the property around him, because he bought that house too. The guy died and he bought that one,
Gotcha.
but it's fallen down.
Okay,
Because my property's right across the street from that, so.
gotcha.
All
I
right.
have nothing else.
All right, nothing else here? Okay, if that's the case, can you have a seat quickly, sir? And, I'm gonna open the floor to remonstrance. Do we have any remonstrators out there for or against the variance? Anyone here for or against the variance? Ms. Murr, anything
No, sir.
online?
I'm
Okay.
here, but.
No, all right. Public portion's closed. You can come back up, Mr. Camp. Okay. Anything else from the building department, Jill?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you. What is our minimum required square footage for a ranch house right now?
I'm sure this makes it.
Minimum?
Well, I was wondering if they exceeded it by
I thought it
much.
was 15.
Sure. It used to be 16, I don't know if
We
we have.
keep going back and forth,
Tell those people to quit changing that stuff, Jill.
So there's changes in the work.
You already remember.
Yeah, it's 1,500.
1,500 square feet.
Correct.
This home will be 25 and change.
2640, right?
2640 is what I remember from the plans.
900, what was it, 25?
And, the variance that used to allow the in-laws to. I didn't even think of that. I have that right here, so you need that larger. You wanted to see it in larger format?
Oh, I'm okay now, unless you guys want to see it.
Yeah, I'm good. Good.
No, we're good.
Thank you.
Good, thank you.
Good.
If you were looking at the plans, bottom of page 4, 2685.
Okay.
1,000 feet over?
Yeah.
1100.
So the problem that I have with this is, with the size, that possibly being the reason for the variance request. we've talked about this before in the past, how you can build the minimum required, and you can do it without variances. Should variances even be granted at that point? We're building a pretty good sized home here. That's where my hang up is with all of this. I think that the use variance, I get it, you want to have your in-laws in there, I don't have a problem with that. I just hope that if that gets approved, that we can make sure there's some protections in there so it doesn't become a rental or a multi-family income property.
If I can address your concern briefly.
Yeah, absolutely.
I could tell you that I wish I could access the first plat of survey I believe I got from, who did our survey again, Randy? Secaris, I'm sorry, last name was escaping me. When Secaris sent me the original plot that you could actually build on if you were to follow the 40-foot setback and the 30-foot setback, you started with, on the south side of the property, about an 80 or 90-foot triangle, and by the time you got to where the driveway is in front of the existing two-car garage, you're already at a point where the two setbacks meet. So that's before you get to the garage, we would be at the point of a triangle. I do not know what home on this planet looks like that, but I've never built one like that, and I've never lived in one like that. It's physically not possible. And so that part of it makes the two setbacks almost impossible to abide by.
Okay. So
I can respect the fact that you might want me to make, somebody even asked me about a flipped plan. What if we flip the plan? There's two potential hardships to that. One is you're eliminating at least one or possibly two beautiful oak trees that are on that property, that are on that side, on the far south side. And it would also require me to create a whole nother driveway, and I would have to turn it in. I'd have to turn in from the side. So I'd have to shift the whole house over again, which would put the side of the house too close to the existing two-car garage to even make it useful. Okay. So it creates all kinds of issues. And I did explore those possibilities with my home designer before we went with our plan.
I did highlight that building triangle.
Yes.
On there of where, based on our current zoning, is the buildable area of the lot.
So the previous home that must have been on there must have been either in gross violation or built well before your current standards, correct?
Well before.
Well before.
Yeah, well before.
Well
before.
before.
Right.
We try not to get into starting over in the wrong. And I think that's what Nick's probably
yeah.
Okay.
discussing.
Anyone?
You own the property, right? You own it.
Yep.
So with your design, with the builder, did you ever consider just building the minimum size house that we require and see if that would fit our zoning ordinance?
1,500 square feet?
Yeah.
No, I never considered that.
Okay.
The minimum home I originally even considered designing and building was between 1,800 and 1,900. And then possibilities about the in-law suite came into play. And that's where the extra 700 square feet has come from.
Okay. Well, do you guys have anything else for the petitioner?
I really love what they want to do.
Yeah. Nice. No doubt.
It'll be a great.
I mean, I like what they'd like to do. From a public safety standpoint, I'm a little concerned, actually, I'm very concerned about the front yard setback off Parish. I traveled that road this morning, and there's just an ever so slight bend to the left when you get to the far point of the triangle, and I think putting a building too close to Parish Avenue is I think it's outside of our public safety criteria.
All right, Thank you, Jeff.
Setback is 30 foot, and they're asking for 21, so it's only a 9-foot difference.
It's 41, John.
It's 40 there, John, on Parish.
Well, I thought you told me it's 30.
That's the back, that's the other road, right?
No, that's, yeah, the roadway.
Okay.
And that's the shortest distance that one section of the home is.
They've had,
Being at that angle, it varies.
they had a house there for years.
People are getting crazier in the way they drive on, you know.
With the town's permission, I'd like to address that if possible. Is it possible to take some of the spoils with the town engineer's approval and put them along Parish as a decorative berm, but also to serve as protection against a car driving off and hitting my home? Because I would gladly do that if that addresses that issue.
Joe, where would we go with that?
That would have to just be reviewed by an engineer and make sure it doesn't have any negative impacts on storm drainage.
Okay.
Because I'm glad to do whatever makes sense.
So to boil it down, 40 feet is what's required, and they're asking for 21.
Correct.
19 feet. So almost half.
Yeah, there's a 40-foot building line along Parish. Oh, my apologies, I just hit the screen and it.
Where was the previous house?
Yeah, my fault.
You know, I don't know. I mean, it was.
You can see
You
the
can
outline
see
of
it
where
there.
it was.
Oh, no.
Thirty back,
Much
this is,
closer.
Want to increase the size of that a little bit?
That's as large as the
Oh, I'm
screen
sorry.
lets me go.
Okay.
The garage is on the north side and the house is on the south.
Yeah.
And they have a little driveway through.
Yeah, it's a little, the house that was there was nowhere near as big as this.
right.
How far off how far from the building line is the garage, do you know? The current garage now?
I did not check that measure.
Joe, do you know? My iPad's gonna go dead here, so I don't wanna use too much of its battery.
Go back here. 18.77 feet, 19 feet.
Okay.
The house that was there was 20.99, so 21 feet. It would be within that existing footprint.
Yeah.
Only instead of being squared, sorry, let me turn this off. He's angling it to match that triangle shape. If I'm explaining that.
Mm-hmm.
I really wish Awesome Plans had fit better.
Yeah, yep.
This is the plan. There is no shrink it, twist it, like you said, there is nothing else.
I don't have an alternative plan tonight. If I'm forced to get one, then I would address that situation if needed.
Here's the question we ask is, you're asking, and we're gonna just go by the developmental variance, you're asking for a variance from our zoning ordinance. We have to figure out why you need that. Right now, what I'm seeing is that you're asking for an 1,100 square foot larger house than what you had, than what is required, the minimum. In my opinion, that could be part of the reason why you need that variance. And so therefore, I wouldn't be for this variance because you created the problem. The problem wasn't created by something else, unless you could prove me wrong. That's where I stand on it.
I can appreciate that. Yet you also fully realize the fact that the previous home, which did burn down, could never have fit in the buildable lot as it is.
That's fine. But we have these discussions every month about not creating old Cedar Lake problems again.
I can appreciate that.
You guys, you've probably heard of that with the other people earlier today, and I don't want to do that.
Okay.
So,
We did have an agenda item And the gentleman sharpened his pencil considerably.
Yeah.
The narrowest, the closest to the road is 21 feet. What's the furthest? As that triangle gets bigger, it gets further away from the road, correct? The house?
It's angled more so with the road, but yes, that's the shortest jut out.
Shortest is 21 feet.
Correct.
So I don't see a measurement here.
I think the berm is a great idea, no matter what.
Yeah,
For your own sanity.
I would like it, absolutely. I just didn't know if it would pass engineering, if they would be in favor of it.
Have to check with the guy. Because we got a guy.
Do you understand our findings of fact that we critique, I guess, when this comes to us?
I do understand where you're coming from. I think if I'm also understanding you right, that it basically would render that lot unbuildable. I don't know how I could put a 1,500 square foot house on there without needing a variance for the front setback, because 40 feet off the road with any width of a house is gonna put me at maybe 20 to 25 feet.
Well, that's what I need to see, frankly, it's everybody's job out there, when they come to get a variance, to prove to us why it's needed. So, I mean, I don't see how it's necessary that this variance should be granted, but that's your job to convince us. That's the problem I have with this now. Whether he wants to get a deferral to, that's try better.
That's the seed I'm throwing down.
I see that, yeah.
21 feet, that's the best I could do without being Here's your 21.
Where's the garage?
So all roads 21?
You're pretty close, but I mean, this is already set
Well, I was
back
just,
further.
yeah.
That front door.
I'm not sure, I have not physically gone out.
Okay.
Lining up that
Somebody
way.
said something, how much it was.
Thank you.
The back setback.
Oh, for the-
Yeah.
So she said it was like 19 feet or something.
Yeah,
So if it was 20 feet,
right,
same as the garage.
right.
So-
Jill, go ahead.
Just for clarification,
Okay. Yeah, okay.
the house behind this is gone or going to be gone?
No, it's still there. It's a little house.
Okay, all right. It's in the middle of a right-of-way.
Correct,
So,
that's unbuildable.
so he's got, according to this
The house
gentleman,
is right here.
okay, what is this?
It's a little shed,
That's like a little shed.
little out shed.
Who's
I
is
didn't
that?
know,
That
I didn't know
belongs to
whose
this
it was.
house.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell by the
That
It
stone.
belongs to that house.
Correct.
Belongs to that house.
That foreman's house?
And there's a road right here,
Jackson.
Yeah, I
and
got
then
you.
it goes, you know.
I got you. The reason I'm asking is, my hang-up is that parish distance. I'm not sure how much of shift east I'd be comfortable with, but there doesn't seem to be anything there, and as Jill said, it's not buildable.
Is that a right-of-way? That's a
Yeah.
right-of-way.
Yeah, you can see it really good on this
It's more
computer
right
here.
back, but-
But it's a dead end, right?
Correct. As a matter of fact, this area here in 2002 was vacated
Okay,
by the
well,
town.
if it was me, I'd be vacating that right-of-way. That's what I'd be doing.
Yeah, but this
If we,
shed belongs to this home.
Right.
if we vacated the right-of-way, though, the right-of-way would be split in half and go to each property owner.
Right.
So you would have a
Okay,
really odd-shaped piece of parcel, and he wouldn't need that
no,
rear
he
yard
gets more
setback.
space, John gets more space, everybody gets more space, and we're cleaning this up.
Mm-hmm.
Jackson would get more.
Whoever,
I'm just saying the property owner
Whoever's-
Jackson.
whoever's paying the bills gets the benefit.
So, I don't know, do you guys feel more comfortable with the deferral for him to, maybe come back with a revised plan, maybe even consider the feasibility of, some
Is
kind
that
of,
what he wants to
right?
do?
Are you?
That's where I'm at with this.
Well, if you guys were getting ready to act on it, then I won't even
No, I
consider
just,
deferral.
I was just kind of trying to,
Yeah. You understand our concerns, sir?
I
Yeah.
absolutely
Okay.
do. If what,
we have to be, I have to be careful, we all have to be careful saying things in any commitment form to you.
right,
You know, I can't say, if you move this 6 feet closer or farther, you're good, because that's not the way this works.
right. So if your suggestion of vacating the right-of-way allows me to shift my house further, keep my plans the same,
I think it's a feasible discovery that
Okay.
you probably should do.
so if
Yeah,
I
if
got,
you didn't need a variance, then you could build the size house you wanted, if you can manage not needing a variance.
He's gonna get 25 feet in the back.
Right. You're brilliant.
And we know, and we know John will want 25 feet in the back.
yeah, I
And
don't.
we know he's here every other Tuesday.
I don't think you'd have to twist his arm very hard to convince him that's a good idea.
So you requesting a deferral to sharpen your pencil and,
Visit with John.
yeah. Do some more homework?
What is the process of
So you-
vacating
you
the right-of-way?
You gotta get with building department, Monday, or Friday.
There's no
Monday.
there's no
Monday.
utility shown there,
It's gotta be, there can't be any utilities there, there
There's
can't.
a utility pole in there. I
Yeah.
remember seeing.
the middle?
one, but it could be for your garage.
There's a pole that was there, and I believe it ran the wires into the back of the existing house above
Okay.
ground.
Service.
I asked NIPSCO, of course, I'd like to build my house, I'd like to bury that wire, and they said, absolutely, once your service is on your foundation. So I know that that's,
So it's your pole then, it's probably
Yeah.
your pole.
that's on my property, yes.
Well, maybe,
I would like a little petitioner do a little discovery with whomever he needs to do that with.
Yeah.
I don't think vacations happen in months, do they, Dave?
But they're not prolonged either.
19 and 16,
Survey.
34, if you were given
Petition.
25
Public
more, he
hearing.
would still need a 9-foot setback regardless if he could move the home back off of Parish, he would he wouldn't need the rear
And
yard then.
I'm speaking for me, moving the home east
Mhm.
is more of what my desire would be.
Okay, he wouldn't need the 30 feet off
That's
of
just
West
me.
End Court if it was vacated.
Just another way to clean this up.
Yeah, I agree.
So then would it be your recommendation as a committee to be 40 foot, the full 40 foot off Parish?
Well, that's what our ordinance is, right? And that's what we like to try to keep, is to keep in line with our ordinances unless it's really, really necessary not to. So you need to get back home and try to make this work, in my opinion, and get with the building department about vacating that right away if that's something you want to do, and that helps your situation. That's my suggestion.
Yeah, we, like I said, we have to be very careful and, you know, if you do this, then this will happen. We can't do that. And I don't know what your timeline was to get going on this, but that just certainly delays it. I apologize, personally apologize for that, but we gotta make this better.
Right.
All of it better.
Sure.
And, you know, like I said, you got a really cool plan here and, not so much the land.
So, do we have a motion to defer this item until next month?
He didn't request one yet, did he?
Does he need
Can
to?
I ask a question?
Be helpful.
Yeah.
A question before you make your request for your deferral. If council was to approve the vacation of the right-of-way, he most likely, if he could move the house back the 40 feet off of Parish, he wouldn't need the developmental variance anymore, potentially. So then, are we deferring both requests, the in-law suite, the variance of use, and
Yes,
the
all of
developmental
it,
variance?
all of it,
All of it?
yeah.
Okay.
And I only say that because these little sentences and paragraphs that keep dragging along, like
Well,
multiple tenants,
Well, I didn't know
I
if
just
you
didn't
were
think-
wanting to, if you were good with that in-law suite on a lot in an R1 zoning district contingent upon.
Let's just,
I don't think there's any benefit to it, I think we defer them both.
I just wanted to ask.
Contingencies are not favored.
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah, I don't have an issue with the in-laws quarters, or the two kitchens, or whatever, so.
Are you requesting a deferral on these items?
Not yet.
Okay.
I'm asking, based on the conversation I just heard, if you could approve my home being built without the variant, sorry, I'm trying to phrase carefully. Can you approve tonight the use of the property with the, the variance for the in-law suite, if I can make the home fit within the property lines with the town being agreeable to vacating the right-of-way? Then I don't have to come back, correct?
No, you have to come back.
No, you wouldn't have to come back if it's,
It's the ultimate contingency.
yeah. Mr. Austin?
I don't recommend it.
Okay.
I don't like contingencies either. It's
No.
always contingent and that.
But you get too many cooks in the kitchen then.
Right.
Yeah.
No, and you don't have to do anything else but show up, once you get whatever you're gonna do.
The sizing of your house might have some bearing on whether we wanna have two living quarters in there and all that stuff, so let's get a good plan drafted up and see you back here next month, hopefully.
And if things aren't where you want them next month, an update from Jill, an email from you,
Before our next meeting.
something like that would be helpful, but we don't, your request right now, I would vote no on. So,
Okay. So vacating the right-of-way is my best option to come back here and get approval.
I would say it's the only option at this point.
Yeah.
Going east is the goal.
Yeah. Yep.
Then I'm requesting a deferral,
All right.
for at least a month.
I'll make a motion to grant the request for the deferral on this item.
Second,
For both of them?
Both of them.
second for both.
Okay. And you're okay with coming back next month?
Fine.
If you're ready.
I had said, I will amend my motion to include update regarding the new plan, some correspondence on paper or from Mr. Cannon.
Okay, whether or not he's ready, you want that information?
Yes.
Okay, fair enough.
I think updates are fair.
Second that amendment, John?
Yes.
Okay.
Is Mr. Camp's contact information in the application?
Yes,
We need to connect you to John Foreman.
we already are.
Okay.
I have a cell phone with it.
Are you kidding me? John already was knocking on his door.
It was officially for the record, every one of us can pull out our phones and hit one button. I get it.
Might be moving into Foremanville, you think I don't know?
Yeah.
You have no idea.
I'm confused about the new plan. We have to have the plan redrawn?
Not necessarily.
No, the overall plan about where this house will sit in the future.
Oh, the plan on the plat.
The plat of survey to move the
Yeah.
house back if the.
The position of the home.
The right of way.
Okay.
Yep,
Yeah.
thank you, I understand you.
Okay.
Where the old house was?
No.
No, I would, with the measurements that we can
So you gotta go
accumulate.
like 40 feet back,
Well, or,
41 feet?
that close, yeah.
All right, so we have a motion by Mr. Wilkening, seconded by Mr. Capora to defer this item until the March 2022 BZA meeting. And at the very minimum, that the petitioner provide us with correspondence on progress on the aforementioned concerns.
Before you do that, Jill, are there any snags with this? Are there any, you're good with this? Because you're the one that has to, okay. Go ahead, sorry, Mr. President.
Oh, no problem. Roll call, please.
Mr. Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Wilkening?
Yes.
Mr. Kapora?
Yes.
Mr. Dungy?
Yes.
Mr. Gupta?
Yes, motion carries 5-0. All right, we'll see you guys next month, hopefully. Thank you.
You probably don't ever count it.
Oh, yeah. Item number 3 of new business is Helsel, 5822 Tahoe Place. Jill, I understand that there's been a withdrawal on this.
Yes, I received a request by the petitioner to withdraw this application today.
Okay. Mr. Austin, is there anything we need to do?
No, just acknowledge on your record the deferral request and have it removed. Or is there-
No, not a deferral. They withdrew their petition.
Acknowledge on your record the withdrawal of the petition and.
I'll make a motion, we acknowledge on the record the withdrawal of the withdraw of the Hessel request at 5822 Tahoe Place regarding a fence.
Okay.
Need a
I'll
second?
second that motion, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. All in favor with an aye?
Aye.
Opposed? None. Motion carries. Last item of new business is Grimmer, Developmental Variance John Grimmer, property being at 13515 Lee Street. This developmental variance is to allow the petitioner to install a 14-foot by 20-foot, 280-square-foot shed for a total accessory size of 1,112 square feet and lot coverage of 30.1%. Mr. Austin?
Legals are in order.
Thank you, sir. Do we have a petitioner for this item? Please come on up and state your name and address for the record.
Hi, my name is Elliot McCullough. I'm here for Mr. Grimmer, I guess you could say. My address is 101 Wayne Street in Valparaiso, Indiana. And my tough shed location is at 1303 West 81st Avenue in Maryville, sir.
Okay, did you sign any document allowing you to speak for Mr. Grimmer?
I had spoken with Mr. Grimmer on that. I unfortunately did not get a document signed. One of them was going to be here, Mr. Grimmer, at work this evening.
Your relationship to Mr. Grimmer is what?
Well, he's a client, I guess, of mine. I can assure you they gave me permission to come in here and speak on his behalf. I have been in touch with Joe also throughout this, leading up until this, but, yeah, I was just coming here to try to help out.
And your firm is?
I'm with Tough Shed, sir.
Okay.
Which is, he wants to build a shed. He's the representative from.
I'm the contractor,
Of the
I
shed
guess.
contractor.
Is there a problem with this?
No, there won't be a problem.
I brought, like, different exhibits.
I can get a document signed by Mr. Grimmer.
Jill will take care of that. She'll catch the paper up to the end.
Okay, all right, thank you. All right, Mr. McCullough, can you please state the reason for the request?
Well, he's got a garage there. I was kind of looking at it here, his property and stuff. I haven't actually been out there. What I guess would have been wise would have been if I came here even earlier than I did to go check his property out. But he's got a little bit of area here on the side of his lot. His garage is getting very full. His house is already full of different family items, decorations. You can imagine he's getting to be about retirement age. So his house is full of stuff, and in his garage, I think he's got like a his and hers Harley in there, different tools, types of equipment. He's got a couple log splitters. One of them he's already he told me to use these words, he's compromising by leaving it outside. He's had to move a lot of different stuff like wheelbarrows. I'm trying to think of what else he had in there, like table saws. Some of the stuff he was covering for a little bit behind his garage, but he was just looking to just build an accessory storage structure outside. And he also wanted me to exclaim that he'd be willing to, I know on this paper it said 14 by 20. He had originally designed something with me 16 by 20. And if that was too large, or even if the 14 model we don't do, because it compromises structural integrity. But we would be willing to even go as small as a 12 by 20. He just wanted to be able to, some of this stuff, he's got several snow blowers. He's got like the newest one that he uses, but he's got a couple, and he wants to bequeath this to his children, and he just wants to be able to keep it in good order. The only reason I brought some of these exhibits was just to show you guys other structures I've had built of comparable size in surrounding towns. I've done builds all throughout Northwest Indiana and Northeast Illinois, and I always try to stay as up to requirements with you guys as possible. So I'm just here to cooperate.
Okay. Jill?
One of the things I wanted to mention for the record, when the existing detached garage was built, they were allowed the 1,000 square feet. In 1996, we had changed the ordinance where they were only allowed 600 square feet for total accessory structures. So that was not a variance for the existing garage. Mr. Germer had purchased another lot here, so he does have three lots combined, versus just having one of the smaller lots there. I had provided pictures. There is 10 feet of separation between the garage and the shed. Mr. Germer had said he was going to go down to a 12-foot wide shed. So you would have 10 feet from the garage, 6 feet from the fence. It is just really the lot coverage that we're looking at here exceeding.
But it's also a request for the accessory size too, right?
Correct, because when that existing garage was built back in the 90s, our ordinance would have allowed for a shed of some size to be built.
Okay. Up to 1,000 square foot total size? Or is that just for one structure?
Well, you were allowed to have 2 accessory structures, but we didn't have the limit on, bear with me one second.
Yeah, sure.
If I also really quick may say, and I don't want to interrupt, we're going to be prepping the ground really nice. I've got a company that's going to dig down about 4 or 6 inches and then put number 73 top driveway stone and compact it. We won't just be setting it down in the grass. We're going to prep the area.
So this is pre-built, brought in on a truck?
Actually, you know, the only thing that comes prefab, sir, is the walls. We start off with the frame by screwing it together, then we then drill down and screw in the flooring, and then, for lack of a better phrase, we will fold up the walls and then attach the trusses. We would have this building done in a day for sure.
Okay.
But, yeah, the only thing prefab is the walls, I'm sorry.
All right, thank you. Okay.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Can I show you some of these pictures?
No.
The biggest thing that I did last...
Dave doesn't have a
I'm
lot
sorry.
of stuff, he doesn't need shit.
The biggest thing that I did last year was a 26 by 30 garage in Momence, Illinois. Now, that took 2.5 days.
That belongs to John Caper's yard.
I barely fit in it.
20% off.
Yeah, okay.
Back then, it would have been allowed 1,000 square feet. We had changed the regulations. Additionally, he was allowed to build that garage because it matched the residential structure roof pitch.
Okay.
And the exterior construction was similar to the primary residential structure.
All right. Thank you, Joe.
You're welcome.
He also understands if you guys did, approve and stuff like that, he understands if there would need to be some type of additional permitting fee outside of what the norm or regular was, he's just understanding to that.
Is this gonna match the garage, the house?
Oh, absolutely. What I also brought here just a sample of wall colors that I could show you guys. Yeah, we match up with, mostly painting with our LP Smart Side wood, but we do provide vinyl if they need be.
Okay.
Does he have the actual proposed one he's putting up, or no, you're not there yet?
Oh, Jill, do you by chance have...
It's going to be in
Is it in
a
here?
color called ground coffee.
Okay, is that that picture here with the,
Yeah.
like the door, no windows?
Trim edge brown. This is what was proposed.
Yeah, what's the size on that one there?
That's the 12 by 20.
Yes, ma'am, I'm gonna pull that up on my computer right now. I was just viewing it. I should have printed that out as well, but I figured you guys having copies might be cool.
Are there any other variances at this address?
No, he was allowed under the,
Sorry, I missed that part.
the existing ordinance at the time to build this garage that was there. Mind you, that was the previous owner. And that's what I was saying about the roof pitch and the color and everything matching the existing home.
Jeff, do you have anything for the petitioner at the moment?
I guess the only thing that I could think of is if the oversized, accessory structure causes the need for the second variance request, I think I have a problem with that.
Well, this is a first variance request on the property. The oversized garage was allowed by zoning ordinance back in the 90s. They didn't need a variance to build that garage.
Okay, but I'm saying, with him building an oversized accessory building, the shed, if that pushes him over lot coverage, then that's what I have a problem with that.
I also just want to say to everybody, Tough Shed is a nationwide shed provider. We do pride ourselves on being of good quality. Everything with that shed is going to be A1 construction material, similar in building a house. He's getting one of the best warranties that we offer. He's going to have 50 years on his walls, 25 on his roof. We don't like to see our stuff start to degrade or get dilapidated either, because it's a bad representation of our company. So if anything ever does happen, we would be out there to fix it, because we would want this to be a good, I guess, aesthetic addition to the neighborhood. We want our colors to shine bright. We want other people to see our sheds and it to look good, and for the homeowner and everybody who sees it to be proud of it.
All right, wonderful. Thank you. Do you guys have anything else for the petitioner until the remonstrant? All right.
No, sir.
No,
I think we're all right.
All right. Mr. McCall, I have a quick
Sir, yes, sir.
Do we have anybody out there for or against this variance? Anyone for or against the variance? Ms. Murray, do you have anything online?
I do not.
No? Okay. Public portion's closed. Come back up, sir.
Jill, I have a question. And again, I may have missed this when I walked away, but he's looking for a 14 by 20 shed.
It's reduced
Okay.
to a 12 by 20.
Okay, now we're down to 12 by 20, which will hold the Trans Am, I get it. But you have here 1,112 square feet. You're including the shed and the garage in the picture?
Correct.
Okay, but it's just a detached garage. Is that really considered,
A
an
detached
accessory?
garage is an accessory
Okay,
structure.
all right.
Based on ordinance.
So right now, current ordinance is at 600 square foot?
Mm-hmm. And at that time, he was allowed to build the 832.
Okay. Follow us, Jerry?
Yeah, I'm good.
All
I'm
right.
good. Thanks.
Yeah, it exceeded what the current one is, but it was all up to snuff back then.
I just want to make sure I was reading this correctly.
Okay.
So his coverage without the shed exceeds the 25% now.
Correct. We're just getting ready to calculate that. This would, by reducing the size of the shed to where we had requested 30.1%, it would be requesting 29.4%.
And the reason he needs this is because he has too many log splitters.
Well, yeah, that and his tools, like I say, he's got a his and a hers Harley there. He's a truck driver who's getting ready to retire, but some of that stuff, he's got 2 log splitters, he's got a couple snow blowers, a riding mower, not one of those big zero turns, but just some of the stuff there that he's got in his garage now that's starting to overflow. As Mr. Wilkening had said, he doesn't want to get in the yard. He's got some stuff covered with a tarp now up against the back of his garage, but he doesn't want to, he wanted me to use this word before I came in, he doesn't want to compromise some of the stuff that he has that could still not just retain its value, but retain its use over the years. He doesn't want to have to put it outside.
The existing lot coverage is 26.2%.
Right now.
Right.
And for clarification, I said, I like when people want to put their stuff inside.
I remember that, sir, yeah.
Not collect
Leaving it
so much
everywhere.
stuff
Right?
that you don't have room for the stuff.
Yeah.
Because the hardship at this point is almost self-inflicted.
Right.
I mean,
Okay.
so,
Go ahead, Jeff, you got something?
Do I know I was just agreeing with Jerry?
Okay, all right.
how big is this lot in, hang on, I'll find it.
7,350 square feet. The existing house is 760 square feet, the deck is 331 square feet, for a total of 1,091 square feet. Currently, accessory structures allowed on a lot of this size is only 600 square feet.
So we're in we have a small house and a nice-sized garage
Well, the deck is,
and a deck, yeah.
the deck is a.
But the living space is 20 by 37? Is that what I'm seeing?
20.4 by 37.9.
37.9, yeah.
20 by 38.
The house was built in 1925.
Oh, wow.
A lot of rec.
No surprise here.
Yeah.
I don't think he has a basement, does he? He told me he doesn't have a basement.
That doesn't factor into it.
No problem, bro. Yeah, well, he just said that his house was full of stuff, as far as decorations go, holiday things. He's maxed out his house space.
Well, he would meet the setback requirements as far as separation, rear yard, side yard, front yard for an accessory structure.
So I guess the question to be asked is, if this was not granted, would there be practical difficulties in the use of this lot? I'm sure there would be.
Zip-up shed.
Do you wanna see that?
Well, there's not practical difficulties, but the junk will continue, stuff.
You said it, sir, will accumulate. Like I said, he's got some wheelbarrows lifted, or not lifted up, but leaned up against the back. The one wood splitter's outside, and he doesn't want to put anything more out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How big a lot is this?
150 by 70.
105.
105, sorry.
7,350 square feet. So when that garage was built, he was allowed to have 1,000 square feet.
I think he's lived in the house for almost 20 years, he said. That's what he told me.
Well, there's over coverage now, and his reason for putting up a shed is because he has too much stuff. And he's gotta learn how to organize his stuff or get rid of some stuff.
Well, John, that's easier said than done, isn't it?
I know that for a fact. But I don't see the hardship here other than what he created by having all this stuff. And then he's got a car sitting outside.
In a trailer.
In a trailer.
The neighborhood similar? Does it have the same appearance and feel as this house?
At times.
Does it?
Certain parts.
So we're perpetuating the use or the environment with an approval or without an approval?
I appreciate you saying that. Well, I mean, I think it would set a good example. Like I said, it's not gonna be some rickety little, thin metal shed. We're putting up a top-of-the-line product.
Oh, we're not arguing that fact, but what we're arguing here is that he's over coverage. We understand you do quality work. You told us 4 times already.
Sorry, sir.
Okay? And I'm not buying it. Okay? So, but the question here is, what's the hardship for increasing the over coverage rate of the property? And he's got a car sitting outside down, he's got a trailer sitting outside down. I mean.
Starting to sniff like, work for the code enforcement officer. Starting to sniff like.
I'm looking at a picture here, straight on the back of the car, the trailer to the right. Whose fence is that that's all falling down? Is that the neighbor's? Is that, I mean, what's next door to this place? I thought I saw another garage and a shed right next to each other, but it looks like a house. A house and a shed, a good-sized shed. Is that a vacant lot where the yellow ladder is and the garbage can?
There's a home on it.
They was mentioning perpetuating, and I just thought, I just saw this.
That's these lots right here.
That's part of that
That would be-
homestead.
Yeah.
He's told me he tries to take good care of his yard. He doesn't want it to become unsightly.
I was trying to read about the same colors it all out of, I mean, or, like, photo. It doesn't look like it.
Does that car in the picture have license plates on it?
Not going there.
I can't tell either.
Illinois plane.
Hey, listen, Chris, the problem in town is not the cars without plates, it's the ones with Illinois plates. They pay better if they didn't have Illinois plates.
That's even a good sized cargo trailer he's got storage in too there. I don't, I'm having a hard time with the hardship thing.
Yeah, if we were having this discussion and he was looking at putting his first and only accessory structure on there, and I understand you gotta have stuff under roof, I think I'd be more inclined, but he got a big garage already.
Not legal hardship.
And, he can put stuff under roof if he wants to.
Get that part.
How, the garage is
I guess if I didn't see the car and the trailer sitting outside, I might think a little differently about it, but I can't unsee it.
So does it make a difference if you all took the next month and went for a ride and drove past this place a couple of times when the snow melts a little and get an idea? I'm not trying, I'm not suggesting to go for the
Not to me.
sake of it.
To answer your question is not to me, because he's gonna stuff that shed right between that car and that trailer. That's what I would do. To put stuff in it.
I personally know the area really well, Dave, maybe the other gentleman and
I'm familiar with
Jeff
it.
would have, would benefit from that.
The South Shore subdivision?
Cedar Point Park.
Yeah.
It's a Cedar Point Park.
What's the estimated, value of this project?
The original design, that he was considering at 16 by 20 was at 13,000 and change. I think moving it down now to the 12 by 20 puts him somewhere, between 10 and 11. That's gonna cover his warranty, delivery, installation, everything.
10-8.
That's a quote
Thank
on
you,
there
Jeff.
somewhere.
10-8 is the rounded number.
Didn't know sheds were so expensive.
They didn't used to be. You guys need some extra time on this?
Nope.
No?
No, I'm good.
Jeff?
I don't really know.
Okay. Well, I'd be soliciting a motion to, this will be a board decision, developmental variance. Would anybody like to make a motion on this matter? Anyone want to make a motion?
Can I make a motion?
Well, you can try to throw something at us, not a motion, but what do you got?
Like I said, I promise we're gonna do a real good job. It's gonna brighten up the neighborhood. It's definitely gonna keep stuff out of accumulating in his yard. I didn't know he had a trailer sitting out there, but, the fence falling over, I'd like to think wasn't his. When he did come in.
I would too.
Yeah. When he originally came into my office, he was telling me how he likes to keep his yard as nice as he can. You know, nothing's perfect, but he's been getting tired of stuff just building up out there. And he wants to be able to keep a lot of the tools and equipment that he has had, without it getting compromised, was the word that he wanted me to use, by leaving it set outside. So, I guess that's all in closing argument I may have.
All right.
I guess, you know, the meeting started at 6.
It did.
See what time it is now. I hate to suggest that perhaps the homeowner would like to come in and sell this idea to us.
Yeah? That's not a bad idea.
But I don't wanna recommend the D thing again,
Right.
because all that does is make next month's meeting last till 11 o'clock. What do you think, John?
This item would be closer to the beginning than the end. Right.
I think somewhere on that as well. I don't think another month's gonna change
Okay.
what I'm seeing. Nothing against the product line.
Okay.
I just don't see a hardship here.
Well,
I mean, if that was gonna be the case, I'm sure he would certainly like to come in and at least maybe just give, some suggestion or pleading, I guess, if that would be all right. I put it this way, if you guys were gonna shut us down on it, I would certainly like to recommend a deferral just so that he could at least come in here and politely ask himself. He sent me just as the contractor. I've tried to come in here and just relay his message to you guys as much as I can, as heartfelt as I could, but I mean, if it was gonna be just this, if this was gonna be like no until next year, or maybe him having a chance to come in a month and say please, I'm sure that I could speak in his best interest by saying he would love to come in and at least ask you guys himself.
Sorry for bringing it up, but
charity.
It's my birthday, guys. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
You can spend it in Cedar Lake.
Well,
So you You guys wanna throw this guy a life vest or what?
What? Sorry.
Well, he should be listening, you started this.
I mean, you certainly have the right to request that, but.
Yeah.
Right now, it's looking like a no?
We don't go down that road.
All right, then, yeah.
John said the homeowner would not change his mind.
I'm not, yeah, go ahead.
You know,
It's up to you guys to
you know,
decide what you
we
wanna do
get these
here.
situations where they, you know, maybe the homeowner will commit to keeping none of that stuff outside.
Right.
But that's not policeable, so maybe I'm getting sleepy.
I can assure you that he definitely wants to use the shed. That's one thing I can promise you.
I know he's gonna use the shed.
Yeah.
Yeah, John, charge him all.
$11,000, you're gonna use that shed.
So you guys need to make a decision what you all wanna do here.
Okay, please, okay.
I thought he was vacillating back and forth whether he was gonna ask for a deferral. If he's gonna ask for a deferral, ask for it. If not, then I'll make a motion.
You want a deferral till next month?
I think so.
Okay, so we have
That a
a
yes?
request by.
Yes, sir, sir, yes,
Make a
sir.
motion, we grant the deferral till next month on this item.
To have the, homeowner present?
Yes.
Okay. Anyone seconding this?
I'll second that one.
Okay, motion by Mr. Wilkening, seconded by Mr. Jackson to defer until March 2022 meeting to have the owner of the property present. Roll call?
Mr. Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Wilkening?
Yes.
Mr. Kapora?
No.
Mr. Bungie?
Yes,
Mr. Gupta?
No, motion carries 3-2. See you maybe next month?
Yes, sir. I'll
Okay.
be here.
All right.
Thank you guys for your time.
Yep.
Thanks, take care.
I guess, Mr. President, the irony here is, tonight we've seen property with multiple sheds on it that don't belong, and now the guy wants to put a shed on his property, and
Did we skip over this Tahoe place?
They withdrew their, you were away,
Yeah.
but they withdrew their request, so that's no more. Is there any public comment? Any public comment? Jill, do you have anything online?
No, just to let you know, Jeff has logged off.
Jeez. You're not getting paid for tonight.
Go to bed.
Yeah.
Must have been a blue light special.
Okay.
He couldn't wait for the gavel.
You guys got nothing else over here?
I would just, if, Jill, if they decide not to come back, do they need to contact you?
Yes.
I don't know your name, I'm sorry, but.
No problem.
If you give them give a heads up, if he figures he's gonna scratch the thought, you know.
Understood,
If he
absolutely.
decides to withdraw his application, let me know.
Understood, yeah, I was gonna ask if it'd be okay, maybe I could call Monday or something.
Yeah, that would be great.
Thank you. Oh, very
Thanks.
much.
Okay. Thank
Happy
you.
birthday.
Happy birthday, man.
39 again?
What is it?
39 again?
How'd you know?
how many birthdays you got a year?
How'd you know, dude? That's pretty
How many
good.
PGAs does he have to go to?
All right, this meeting's adjourned at 9:43 PM.